I'm Amanda Manethrin, and I approve this message.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the weekly Chillporeal or chill stream that I've been doing for the last few weeks. So this is like the third one. So I figure I'm lucky enough to get Pips here. What's up, man? How you doing? Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Always good to hang out and have a glass of whiskey with a friend.
Yeah. So what are you drinking? I have to ask.
Today is I'm trying to finish up, honestly, because as you can see, this bottle, it's down below the 1/3 mark, which that means it's going to go stale if you don't drink it. So
is that the case? Yeah, that's right. You said that.
Trying to make sure that I finish that while it's still at peak freshness, because I'm gonna be gone for a couple months, starting here at the end of the month. So I got to make sure that my liquor cabinet is properly stored, climate controlled. Any open containers have to get finished before I leave. All of just the usual things on a packing list before you're going anywhere. Make sure that you drink all of your booze, make sure you pack your toothbrush, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I agree. So I think it was last time the two of us hung out, you weren't drinking, but I was drinking this, I believe, this Jefferson's Ocean, aged at sea.
Yeah, you showed me a picture of that before coming on. Yeah, that is, I keep a several bottle collection of that. It's good stuff. So is that what you're drinking right now?
Yep. I'm going to open, nice. I open it up and I'm going to pour, and so I started a temporary gig this week. So I actually had to, wake up early, dress up, go to the office, do some work and everything. So some reverse engineering on my part. So so I've been, last couple of days has been a blessing. I'll say that. So we're here to talk about, we're just here to talk about whatever. So whatever you want to talk about. Like if I bring up something and you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to talk about it.
Wait. Did you have literally no plan on what you want to talk about? You just put this picture that is on the screen behind us to trigger me when I joined the chat, and you just had it full screen, just sitting there looking at me. And you don't even have a plan. It's just reckless hate.
Hey! I support the Screen Actors Guild, and I support the Writers Guild of Hollywood or whatever. So yeah, I hope they get their fair share. By the way, I liked your tweet about that. I agree. I totally agree with that. So,
I don't think that everyone who saw that tweet necessarily got my joke.
No, I don't think they did. I didn't. I'll be honest. I didn't get it at first, but then I read it. I thought about it. I was like, oh, I see what he's going for. So, I'm totally on board.
I said exactly what I meant. I don't know what is so hard for people to understand.
Well, we all don't have your intellect. We don't have your level of intellect and your manner of your way with words and everything. Your beautiful way with words. Sometimes I have to. I've learned a lot from listening to you. I learn a lot, or I completely zone out sometimes.
I was going to say that I actually see several people in the chat who have better intellect than I, and then Trip said something mean. So it's really just a couple people in the chat who are smarter than me, not Trip. She says mean things about people, and that is not the behavior of high class intellects. But it looks like Gadfly Fiction. We got Mr. Zip. We got Thumb Maryland. We got a couple people over there that high class individuals of scholarly sort of efforts, and well mannered individuals as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. But yeah, Trip, I don't know what this vacuum cleaner is that you keep talking about. It doesn't exist like this Chillporeal thing. So
Chillporeal doesn't exist. He's a real thing.
So I got a question. I've been reading let's just rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, Chillporeal is here already. That was like 8 Let's It's.
No, that's just me being me. I haven't drank yet, so you saw. I'm assuming you saw that beautiful trailer that
I did, yeah.
that showed up yesterday. Just curious, are you excited? I know you must be excited.
All right, so we're planning a stream on our channel on Saturday with a couple people, and so we'll do a deep dive there. I had some time off today, so I actually already recorded a video going into it as well, which is, I'll put it this way, it's an hour long. I was shooting for like 20 minutes, and that didn't happen. So I'm gonna edit it down a little bit. I'm hoping for like 40-ish minutes. We'll see what I can do with it. But man, it's a rough one. I think the funniest thing that I had, the experience that I had while watching it, is that I expected to be, like Steve always, goes full rage about this stuff, right? And like I love watching his videos and channels, and I haven't watched his video yet because I didn't want to like have that impact kind of my view on it. But everybody in the chat here, you should go check his out. I'm sure it's a blast.
So you didn't hear my theories, did you?
I did not know.
Oh, good, good.
But the actual experience that I had was kind of twofold. One, it was kind of a confusing trailer. Like, it was just so many rapid fire, like no context kind of cuts with mostly voiceover, kind of like ADR tracks, not like dialogue from the scenes. So even the dialogue that is being said along with some of the scenes are potentially misleading. They're potentially not associated with the scene you're watching. And so it's very hard to figure out what is even being said by the actual scenes you're watching. So like I said, confusion being one, right? The other one though is that I think after season 1 and like looking at season 2, I think the only way to watch this show now is to think that like this isn't an adaptation of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. It's a sort of high fantasy original Amazon TV show that shares some names, locations, and features with Robert Jordan's world. So it's more like, inspired by the world of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, not, Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. I don't know if that distinction makes sense.
Oh, absolutely does.
And I'm, after watching the trailer, I find myself like wondering whether or not people who haven't read the book are going to watch season 2 and see like it's getting good, right? Like I could potentially see that where the season 2 trailer does look better than season 1, right? So in terms of like just lighting and composition and like costumes, even though they're still mostly garbage, just like set location stuff, like a lot of those basic stuff, season 1 looked like it was made by like a high school drama department. Like it was atrocious, right? So from that perspective, like I almost wonder if like people who watch, I don't know, what's a like long running random fantasy show?
Hercules.
Nah, that's kind of an older one. Like, yeah, the old Hercules and like Beastmaster and Xena and like those kind of stuff. I don't know. Like I can't even think of a
other than Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Anyway, does that make sense? Yeah, Tripp said Supernatural. I thought of that too, but like Supernatural is low fantasy, right? It's not a high fantasy series. So I
forget. So low fantasy is supposed to be basically take place in our world. So Harry Potter would also be considered low fantasy.
Yes. Okay. Yes. That's generally the accepted distinction. Some people think like, and then they add in like epic fantasy, which I think is just like you say that if you think it's good. I don't know. I don't know what that
No,
means.
I mean, epic fantasy is basically, like Lord of the Rings. There's war, there's courage, there's the heroes. That's what basically an epic is. It's poetic.
I'm just saying that I think the additional term epic onto fantasy, I think, is less clearly defined than high or low fantasy. I think that one is generally accepted.
So, if I remember correctly, high fantasy is basically as Christopher Tolkien said, is basically the inclusion of an alternate world to escape to. So, yeah. So, and then is mid fantasy a thing, or is that?
I've never really heard someone use that term, but I know that some people kind of like buck the idea that things like Harry Potter are low fantasy because they consider it to be like a negative kind of connotation. I look at it the same as I would say like high church and low church. Anyone who goes to church might know that distinction. High church.
I've never heard that. I've been to church.
High church is your liturgical services, the standing and kneeling and the
so you're Orthodox, you're Catholic.
Yeah, so Orthodox, Catholic, your kind of mainline Protestants. So your Anglican, Episcopal, your Lutheran, your Methodist, those ones are sometimes high church. There are low church, Methodist and Lutheran and Episcopal, but low church is the like much. You can show up in shorts and flip flops, and there's not the same structure and all that kind of stuff. And that's your mega churches.
So your mega churches type of thing.
Those are mostly from observation low church.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Tripp says that the comparison doesn't work because she can't pass through the threshold of a church, so she hasn't observed the differences there. But you can like watch a movie or TV show, Tripp. You'll figure it out.
But yeah, man. So obviously Wheel of Time's been, you've been familiar with that story, that series for a very long time. And so my question is, I know that, the White Cloaks were originally on Reddit. Were you on Reddit before Wheel of Prime, or did you join Reddit for Wheel of Prime and the whole subreddit of the White Cloaks and all that?
I mean, I was on Reddit before. I was never like super active on Reddit. I think I was on Reddit like most people are on Reddit, where like I had a Reddit account and like I occasionally would find Google results that would lead me to Reddit sort of things. And like every once in a while I would like get into like, like for a week I would be on Reddit like every day looking up random stuff, whatever. But like, I was not like a super user, whatever. Yeah.
So basically, now some idiot said something, and that's what caused you guys to get banned or something. And you tried to communicate it, and they wouldn't listen to you.
You're gonna make me rehash the White Cloak ban story.
Well, kind of want to. Yeah, I mean, I know only fragments of the story.
Yeah, I mean the basic premise is that we were posting higher levels of activity, both in like posts per user, posts per day, like active number of users on the site, growth. So we were one of the fastest growing subreddits of any kind on the site during some of those periods, and so that drew some negative attention. Of the other subreddits, I think were getting upset about how active and how much we're growing and participating, and then it started with the bans from the other subreddits, and that just grew us even faster. There were some bad faith accusations by some of the mods from major Wheel of Time subreddits about like rule violating behavior. Like they accused us of brigading and doing these random things when there's no evidence that any of our users were doing that. We had rules against doing it. We told people not to do it. Like there was certainly no coordinated brigading, which brigading as a concept requires coordination. Like if individual users of one subreddit just go shit post on another subreddit because they want to, like that's not brigading. That's just, I guess, free speech, which I know Reddit doesn't like.
I've been brigaded on Twitter. I know how it is. So yeah. This bull crap. It's bull crap.
Yeah. So anyway, there was a little bit of contentiousness between us and some of the other subreddits. Basically, one of the mods or a couple of the mods knew an admin, a Reddit admin, and basically whined to them. And that Reddit admin got interested in what we were doing, came up with a bunch of fake reasons to start limiting access and making all these rules. I literally, about a day before they finally locked the site down, as a moderator, I just in mod mail messaged the admin. I was like, hey, like I'm trying to comply with the things that you want us to do. Like point me towards the things that you think that we need to be taking action on. And like, I'll go deal with them. And like between two posts of like trying to articulate that point. So like typed in one, was typing like the second half of my thought, basically that same thing, and like hit send, and it wouldn't hit send because like after the first half of that, which was, fairly cordial and decent and just like trying to be helpful here, they actually removed me as an active user, removed me as a mod and like kicked me out of the subreddit. And then like the next day they banned the whole thing. So,
bastards.
But the funny thing is that occasionally anytime something happens with Wheel of Time related news or whatever, the White Cloak subreddit population, active users goes up again, and we like pick up new subs. It's kind of fun.
That's awesome, man.
In fact,
the reason why I asked this is because you guys invited me to see more of the server, the White Cloak server, and I got to see more of some of the more spicier topics. So, and the way you've been presenting it, I was actually pretty impressed. It's like you're trying to start your own little Reddit. You're starting topics, starting discourse, some friendly debates and all that. Especially the two things that you never want to talk about with people unless you really you truly know them, or you trust them enough to not go nuts on you. Religion and politics. So
I'm just going to throw this out there that I think, and Trip is going to be unsurprised by this. I think that the prohibition against talking about religion and politics with people, right? I think that was a concerted effort, a concerted kind of social engineering thing driven by one half of the political spectrum, essentially, because what the goal was is that if you when you have a system of values and you have a system of like you will say a seemingly empathetic system, right? Like if you articulate one side like, oh, it's just hugging and caring and compassion and whatever, right? Like that on its face, if you don't ever interrogate it, seems good, right? Like it's the thing with homelessness and drug use in the streets of whatever city, right? They'll say like it's not compassionate to let these people, or to lock these people up or kick them out of their tents or whatever, right? And it's like
in my case, bus stops.
Yeah, it's
like literally like in Chicago, in my neck of the woods. Like I'm going for one of my my long walks, and this is right by this is supposed to be, this is one of the better areas. There's homeless people there's a homeless couple. I don't know if it's the same couple every time I pass, but there's always a homeless couple in this one enclosed bus stop, and I'm just like, I'm thinking like, oh crap, just like all the other major cities. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But
no. The point I was going to make is that like, well, it's not compassionate to let them stay there either, right? Like they're living in a state that like they might in their like drug and alcohol and mental health, whatever situation they're in, they might consider that to be acceptable and they might want to be there. But like, it's not compassionate to let them be there, right? The compassionate thing to do is to take them off the street, take them somewhere, put them into a shelter, give them access to treatment, get them off of drugs, like give them a chance to actually live their life.
Don't enable the
Yeah.
behavior. So don't like just give them the means to further self-destruct, so to speak.
Yeah. The thing is it's the difference of compassion of a friend and compassion of a parent, right? Like you expect your friends to just like support your decision, right? I would say that that's not actually what good friends do, but like a lot of people expect their friends to just like empathize and like just be there and like always like, oh man, like yeah, like I'm here, but we expect like parents, when you're a child, to compassionately stop you from doing bad behavior, right? Because it's harmful to you. And so that's the kind of stuff where it's like, things that are compassionate on their face may not actually be compassionate. And you have to have these conversations out in the open. You have to interrogate the assumptions of a policy to get to that point. And if you set up these rules where people can't have these conversations, then I'll never fully understand my own assumptions because I don't have anyone to talk to them and like, hold them up to the light and have to strengthen my positions through that process. And I'll never understand your opinions either. And so this thing is like, we created this culture where like, you're not allowed to talk about politics and religion. It's like, okay, well, so we're not allowed to talk about the two fundamental things that actually matter in interpersonal relations, right? Because politics and religion really comes down to morality and values and ethics and like philosophy, right?
Yeah, like you said, personal beliefs, stuff that's near and dear. So
and for thousands of years, that's what human discourse was, right? Like if you look at the things that survived from ancient cultures, it's not just little fluff pieces and things like that. It's deep interrogation of the human nature and the human condition, and the idea that we can't do that in our current lives because we're not emotionally stable and mature enough. But only the ancient Greeks were able to sit there and have discourse and not come to blows over it. Like, why are we treating ourselves like children? It's a very strange concept. But anyway, yeah, we have politics and religion channels on the Discord, and we make sure people have to keep it civil. They're not allowed to personal attacks against each other. There are rules, but the expectation is that anything you want to talk about is fair game, and we have difficult and legitimate disagreements.
I've noticed.
And that's how I think things should be, right? Like
I think it's healthy to have disagreements. And I mean, you've said it yourself. I mean, like we learn more from, disagreeing with each other, than we do from just, living in an echo chamber. You can't grow. You can't expand your horizons if you're in a controlled volume, in a controlled space, in a, like I said, echo chamber.
So I like to use the analogy. I like to say that the human brain is like a shark. If it stops swimming, it dies. You have to keep stretching, or you get complacent and you stop growing, you stop developing, and you atrophy, right?
Yeah. By the way, sorry, Salty. You left this 99-cent super sticker a while ago. Appreciate it. Thank you.
The one other thing I'd say is that I think that those types of conversations can only be had in a situation where there's I'd say mutual respect, right? And I don't mean mutual respect, and I think the way that a lot of people use it today, where I don't necessarily respect everyone's position or idea or conclusion, right? But I respect them as people, and it's an interesting thing. I picked this up, I don't know, years ago. The concept that like people people are distinct from their ideas. Like I am a person who has ideas. My ideas can change, and me as a person doesn't change because my ideas change. So like as I'm confronted with new evidence and my understanding of something changes, me as a moral human didn't change. And so if you apply that reasoning from yourself, which I think we'd all agree with, right? Like yesterday I didn't know how to do math. Now I know how to do math. I'm not a more moral person today than I was yesterday because I know more facts, right?
Oh.
If I apply
So you're toxic now. Okay, I get it.
If I apply that reasoning to other people and give them the same charity that I give myself, then all of a sudden, like you and me disagreeing doesn't mean that I'm a good person because I'm right and you're a bad person because you're wrong. It just means that we have a disagreement about something that is unrelated to either of our moral status, right? And I think that's critical to having these types of conversations that we do have on the Discord, that like people can sit there and throw spears at the idea, not at the person.
Not exes like parent to his wife.
All right, you're going to try and force me to talk about this freaking show, aren't you?
No. I figure you made your peace with it. I'll tell you my theories. So I think the reason why Lanfear is bad in this series is because I think Luz Theron just kind of, Wire style just kind of hit it and quit it, and he just teleported her to Mars. Teleported her to Mars, and she's just there for thousands. She's just fuck all, and that's why because of bad Luz Theron, that's why she's bad. Not because she's selfish and ambitious or evil. Just there's a reason for that.
Oh, I think I don't even think that's a theory. I think that's a given. I think that look at what we've seen so far. So first of all, me talking about this on Nerdporeal's channel, it's going to be all the spoilers, so just get over it. So Ishamael standing there next to the High Lady Suroth as like a counselor position or something like that, right?
Who's Ishamael? I don't. Exactly. There's no Ishamael. There's a Subaru salesman right there.
Get out of here. So him being this like counselor or something like that. The only reason that makes sense is he's doing the worm tongue role, right? Like he's corrupting her, right? It's not that she's sold her soul to the literal in-world Satan, the Dark One, in order to gain advancement and ultimately try and become the next Empress of Shanshan. It's not that. No. It's she's corrupted by the bad male patriarchy that is represented by Ishamael. And then similarly, Lanfear, she was just done real dirty by Luz Theron. I'm sure we'll spend approximately 16 episodes talking about how she's actually good and Luz Theron was the problem. He was toxic and she was just affected by his toxicity. He's actually probably the origin of the taint. The taint on Sidene is probably toxic masculinity.
I mean, I just watched that. I know. I told you I watched that episode. I watched episode 8 of season 1, and you're just like, I was like, dude, like I'm texting you. I'm like, dude, like this is worse than I thought. And you're like, well, you did that to yourself, Brian. And I was like, that's true, but the whole Luz Theron thing, like, why? The reason why I brought up Mars is because there's freaking spaceships in the freaking Age of Legends. Like, now I haven't gone far. I don't know if there are actually spaceships and space exploration in the Age of Legends, but like that scene just made Luz Theron boring. Like when I think Luz Theron, I think the prologue of Eye of the World, and I think shit is like, this is a major character. This is a character with, and I use this word a lot of gravitas. Someone who is someone who you look at and you're like, okay, this is a king. This is the dragon himself. Like,
they made him
when
look like
when he moves, you watch. When he moves, you watch and you're like, holy shit.
They made him look like Gustavo Fring, didn't they? They made him into the freaking Chicken Man.
They made him look like a Secretary of State or something like that. He didn't look like a king, let alone the dragon.
I don't even think he looked like a Secretary of State. I think he looked like a secretary. He looked like he was the assistant to the regional manager, not the assistant regional manager.
Yeah, and I liked how in that episode they're speaking that was it the old tongue or something. The I don't know if that was his wife who he was talking to in that scene, but she's like, "Oh, we're not going to help you. You shouldn't be doing this. You know, you shouldn't be. You're going to do something bad." And then, well, but there's no Sidene or Sidar, so I don't know what the hell she's talking about. And my other thing is, I think in the interests, and I don't want to get too political, but I think there's going to be a lot more. I think they're going to invent other forms of the one power. There's going to be Saidama. There's going to be Saidunu. There's going to be like besides if they ever bring in Sidar and Sidene, they have to add more to it because it's modern. It's modern entertainment. So. What do you think? Do you think I'm just making up shit, and I think my shit is better than the ideas that they do because I'm just thinking of the most outlandish stuff.
So, I mean, yeah, obviously there's going to be 31 flavors of the one power, right? Like I think that's a fair guess.
I thought it was 1,619, 16. Oh shit.
The opinions of the Nerdporial do not represent the opinions of the guest.
Amen.
All right, Danu in the chat's asking a question here. All right, question for you. What do you think of the White Cloaks and the Shan Chan as factions? So you're only in the Shadow Rising, right?
Yeah.
You're like what, chapter 10 or so of the Shadow Rising?
Well, listen wise, I haven't read it, so. But yeah. So I got as far as the stone stands.
Yeah,
and
so
I thought Michael Kramer's performance as Rand in that, I was like, holy shit, he's using a different inflection for Rand in that.
I told you you'd get to that chapter and you'd be
come at me, Fade. Yeah. Fade, come at me. I was like, holy crap, this is Rand.
The stone stands, man. Great chapter. All right. So you've only seen the barest glimmer of the White Cloaks and the Shan Chan as factions. I will give you, I mean, this is going to be spoiler, not super surprising spoiler, because we talked about this before. The White Cloaks are a minor element in the story, right? Like we picked the White Cloaks as a subreddit name. You can talk to Sneed's Memes and Dreams if you want to know like why he picked the name. I mean, I think it's fitting, but it was never anything about like, putting airs on or anything like that. Like the White Cloaks are not particularly important. I've gone on record and said that if you needed to cut back substantially from the story in order to fit it into a constrained storytelling environment, you could probably cut the entirety of the White Cloaks. There would be some changes there, but it's one of the factions that you could cut out completely with probably the least impact. So they are on a different level than the Shan Chan. The Shan Chan are a major force that is going to really shape the narrative for a large portion of the story. But based on your experience, what would you answer there? What do you think of them as factions?
What do I think of them as factions? Well, White Cloaks so far, I mean, they just come off as a very, they're just like your religious order of knights that just are going around, and I mean, obviously, Patron Nile wants to expand. He has plans. He based on the prologue of Dragon Reborn. He has plans. He wants to be the hero of Tarman Gaiden, or the final the last battle. So there's a lot of ambition there. But so far in the story, they kind of come off as they're the ones that kind of get their asses handed to them all the time. Like, whether they come across an Aiel or they come across, or Matt pulls a prank on Dane. That's how we first meet the White Cloaks, is Matt pulls a prank in Burlon. If I remember, I forget exactly what the nature of the prank was, but it was something that really, it was something, it's something that kind of ripped into Dane. So, and then of course the Moraine becomes a giant, and then of course the White Cloaks get, like, the whole faction of them get killed by the Shan Chan. So the Shan Chan are no joke to the narrative, to the overall story. I mean, obviously, because of you have the collars, and in this case, they have they have the pacifiers or the ball gags or whatever you want to call it. But the Shan Chan are no joke. Like I mean, one thing you guys said during the streams that I've been doing is that the Shan Chan are no different than any other civilization. They're another shade of gray, even though they abduct and enslave and dehumanize Aes Sedai, especially when they turn them into Damani. Like they're treated less than animals.
So the thing with the Shan Chan, and the show is not going to do this. You can already tell with the like weird skeleton bone like armor and get-ups and the scarring and like all these weird things that they're doing on the Shan Chan. They're not making the Shan Chan foreign, which is what the Shan Chan were in the books, right? The Shan Chan were very, very foreign. They were.
I mean, they were separated by an ocean.
I don't mean geographically foreign, although I mean that's a part of it. They were culturally foreign. It's the same way that Romans would have looked at the ancient Chinese or something, right? Like they were representative of a totally different worldview, culture, class, like history, right? Like all of this stuff, right? And so when the two meet together, like obviously there's going to be a lot of friction about like the way that they operate, right? But the Shan Chan are not fundamentally less moral than the people in sort of Randland, right? They have very different systems of sort of acting out those morals, but you'll see this as you get into them. Like the Shan Chan, I mean, it's weird to say this, like good governance, like the Shan Chan have a freaking lock on that. Like all the petty lords and kings and queens and like the mainland of the story are all a bunch of friggin' chumps that like can't get the trains to run on time, and then the Shan Chan are like no rats in the gutters, no crime, everything's great, it's like it's real communism has never been tried. The Shan Chan.
I forgot. Now you've read the book, so you probably know this. I forget when they go when they're like when they already invaded the was it Toman Head? They had already invaded Toman Head. And they're going around all these towns or all these villages and towns. I forget. So like I think they don't they like do something to kind of show their supremacy, and then I forget do they take the women? I forgot what exactly they did. And then the White Cloaks were investigating that, if I remember correctly.
So in the Great Hunt, and if there was a military sort of fight or whatever, they would dominate, right? And then they'd basically be like, "Hey, you have to take these oaths, right?" Which were to obey, await, and serve, or something like that. I think were the three oaths, and I don't think it's a mistake that they're also 3 oaths. So to obey, await, and serve, I think was the 3. I'd have to go back and double check it maybe, or the chat can tell me. Gadfly will be able to tell me if I'm wrong. And if you took the oaths, they were just like, sweet, here are your weapons back. Like go with God, because they came from a culture where like, I mean, weirdly, like you give your oath and like that means something, I guess, right? Like that was wholly sufficient for you to be trusted to like go around armed in the middle of the city, like didn't even bother, right? But if you fought, and we saw a couple villages where they like, yep, sweet, put all the people in the middle of the town, light them on fire. Like in Toman Head, right? In Falma, they like, put the town leadership in gibbets, so no joke, but if you fit into their system, then you had no problems.
Oh, I see. The Shan Chan in the books are the most moral people. They are so diverse.
That is actually true. They are the most diverse country of any of the countries. So
diverse in here or diverse.
I don't actually understand what you're asking.
Are they diverse, ideas? Or are they diverse, what's that word for shallow? whatever.
I'm sorry. I don't understand the question.
Views of the pips. Cheers.
There's no difference. They're the same picture.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm guessing there's a lot of nations within Shan or something that have, like you said, governance and their own, ideas, their own culture, and they're just kind of like all combined as a, if I'm assuming correctly, an empire with an empress.
Yeah. So there's an empress. Put it this way: the Shan is like twice the size of all of the sort of the Westlands. So like
Okay.
the map that you see like inside of the cover of the book, Shan is, I would say, at least twice that size. So it's a very large place. Another interesting thing about Shan, there's no blight.
Yeah, they said but there were shadow spawn. That was one thing that was in the Great Hunt, that they removed all the shadow spawn. So they didn't have that issue.
Yeah, so I guess the blight is probably still there, but they basically wiped it all out. Like they cleansed it.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, that's something that I don't think any other civilization did. So, but the blight. I mean, I don't know how much of the world we know about in the Wheel of Time, but apparently, I'm assuming the blight makes up the entire North Pole. So even not just in Randland, but in, like you said, like they said, Shan and all the other continents.
Yeah,
it's even going as far as the Aiel Waste and whatever is beyond in the east. Yeah,
that's a fair way of putting it. That up there, like inside the polar, the Arctic Circle is kind of where the blight is. The Trip is pointing out that Canada equals the blight, which yeah.
tell that to Dane. So,
yeah.
But yeah, okay, but yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting too. I'm curious. You know who I don't like? I don't like High Lady Suroth, or as they showed her in the trailer, Wolverine. With the claws. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I go into some detail about the claws in my breakdown. I'll give you a spoiler. I pull a passage out of my book, The World of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, to basically point out how they just got the nails wrong. Like is
that the one that was crap, or was that another book?
So
because I know there was one that came out not too long ago that I remember about the Wheel of Time, about Robert Jordan's ideas.
No, that was the Livingston book or whatever.
Yeah, that's one. So that's not the same. That's not the same as what you just.
No, I don't have that book. I'm not going to give that guy money. I talked with Matt, the guy who founded our Discord, or was one of the guys who founded the Discord. I talked with him, did kind of a book review thing, and he sort of walked through like all of the points in the book, and it just confirmed, most of what I knew in advance just from knowing him and the people who supported his book, which is that it was all very motivated reasoning. To put it this way, he basically said all of the things that that Robert Jordan wouldn't have written a gendered magic system if he was writing today. Like that, those kind of, things where you're like, there's zero possible foundation for that. Like you're just making that up, And of course, he didn't actually provide any citations or footnotes for those assertions. He just said them in his book. So that person, it's a real shame that the profession of historians and literary professors and things like that has fallen so far. If Gadfly Fiction is in the chat, he can confirm how low the Academy has stooped. But
so simply based off of their ideas and worldview instead of documents, facts, stuff that's citable. So
pretty much, yeah.
All right, but yeah. So speaking of which, it's time for show stuff that's not safe for work right here. So I did order. I still have the bug. I ordered 2 more books. So the Fires of Heaven and the Lord of Chaos. hardcover original art is coming. Hopefully within the next couple of days.
Tell you what. Where?
I was in that room, by the way.
Come on.
That's a real sword. It's slayed millions.
Not true. It is a real sword, but it is not slayed millions. Somewhere around here, I have.
So are those all first? I forgot. Are those all first the original artwork?
Yeah, they're all the original artwork. They're not all first printing. So they're all first editions.
Where are the four away on the left? Are those Wheel of Time or no? The four all the way on the left or the left? I see it.
Oh, actually, the one that I was going to show you is all the way over on the left. It's hidden back there. Winter's Heart. I have a copy of it for you. I'll give me your mailing address. I'll send you one. I have 2 hardcover copies of Winter's Heart. So I'll send you one. Don't ask. The 4 over on the left, those are the battles and leaders of the American Civil War.
Yeah.
I think it is the finest. I think it's the finest sort of primary source collection for the American Civil War, short of like having a research library. I mean, it's if you want to devote a couple a foot of shelf space and have a very good account of the actual conflict of the Civil War, not so much the politics and stuff that led up to it, not so much the Reconstruction and stuff that followed it, but just the actual events of the war itself. It's second to none.
Okay. Yeah, I remember you. Like, I think you said it was like a lot of it's like messages, from one person to another during the war. Communication. So
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. So yeah. There's Civil War stuff is something I want to get back into. I haven't really studied it since I'll be honest. College, I didn't take a single history course. I was all engineering, math, science. I did have to take some humanities, but that was pretty much it. So cultural geography, and that's where I first learned about globalization. So but yeah, I took one philosophy. I took one single philosophy course, never took an economics course. So when we were hanging out and you were talking about economics and like, I think you randomly brought up capitalism. You were so knowledgeable about capitalism. I was just like, So
I drink and I know things.
He drinks and he knows things. Yeah, I actually want to. I've been meaning to. Yeah, there's a lot of books about capitalism. I want to check out eventually. So now that I'm driving more, going to work, I'm driving an hour there and back now. I have time to listen to. Listen to a lot of shit now. So, but yeah. So, all right. Well, thanks for sharing your thoughts and everything on that. I know, reopening old wounds is a mean thing, and I know I haven't been exactly the nicest person as of late, but sorry. I appreciate you being here. So let's talk about something. Good. So, I know you said because of my conversation,
I don't trust the way that you said that.
We'll talk about something that's good. So let's talk about The Wire. Let's talk about The Wire, dude.
Okay.
So the reason why I'm watching The Wire in the first place, you and Steve brought it up at almost the same exact time. So
it's a great show.
I'm actually the second. So I think if I rewatch the first season and kind of understand now, like it's like Alex said, it's like a fantasy. You have to learn the language. You got to learn you have to learn the ins and outs of everything. And I've kind of come to view it as that. So like the end of each season, whenever the detail breaks up, to me it's like the fellowship is breaking up. So that's kind of how I see it.
it is funny, right? Because at least through the first 3 seasons, I'll have to think about the fourth and fifth season. I think there's 5 seasons. Um, uh, it starts out with kind of the forming of the fellowship, and then kind of it goes through, and then it breaks up. That's not a terrible sort of thing to highlight.
It's a terrible analogy. It's just something I had to think of something obvious. So,
but I do. I mean, it's a great show. Like it's. So we've talked about this before. It is not artistic the way that Better Call Saul was, right? Like Better Call
Correct.
Saul was like technically beautiful show. Like you watch that, and there are scenes where you're just like, dude, you could give an entire an entire semester of film school could be about this episode, you know. Like it nails so many great technical things, from shot framing to the sound tracking to lighting to effects, all of it, right? The Wire isn't that, right? The Wire, I mean, sometimes it's like I think literally filmed with like a handy cam and stuff like that. Like it's
especially the riot. I don't know if you remember. I think it was the end. I think it was episode 2 of season 1. The when they're like kind of like when Presbeluski punches the kid in the eye, and I think the kid loses the eye as a result. And then like people are throwing garbage and throwing shit on the car, and they're being shot at. It felt like that when you saw the way the camera movement, especially.
Yeah, one of the things, and I hesitate to say this because I don't know that this is actually a thing that they did versus a thing that I just kind of noticed that maybe wasn't intentional and maybe isn't super consistent. I don't know. I feel like I've observed this from watching the show a couple times. The stuff that is filmed from the character perspective of the members of like the projects, so like the drug gangs, the criminals and stuff like that. The drug gangs side of things is filmed differently than the police side, right? The police side, or even like the kind of like white collar crime kind of side, is generally like more sort of normal shots and like normal kind of cam setups and stuff like that. And then you're in the projects, they're throwing drugs on the corner, they're in the low rises and stuff like that, and you get a lot more of the like I said, like the shaky cam, the portable cameras. It looks like like found footage kind of stuff, and I think that is to create an ambiance of just more raw, right? And so I think that's one of the technical things that I think that they do that is actually pretty well done. But outside of that, like, I don't think that they were really doing crazy, technical kind of out there, really trying to do art piece kind of stuff. But they just nailed character work. Like the character work in the script is just.
I noticed now. I feel, especially with season 2, less so with season 1, but more with season 2. I'm starting to attribute Breaking Bad and the way they did things in Breaking Bad to The Wire. Like I noticed a few times, like they have like at the end of each season, both seasons. I've watched 2 seasons so far. I watched a little bit of the first episode of season 3. They have these nice little montages. There was one montage where they were doing Johnny Cash, Walk the Line, and it felt like something that the Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad people would do in the beginning of an episode. And they did that. So. And then there was just other things. There was a character. What's his name? Brother Mazzoni or something.
Brother Muzan, yeah.
Brother, yeah. And he was just like, he's like a combination of Louis Farrakhan and Gus Fring. And I was listening to a review. I was listening to another review of the season, and the person I was listening to said that they felt he was kind of too cartoonish, so to speak. I don't know. I thought it was an interesting addition. I'm curious what they're going to do with this character.
Oh, watch and find out, my friend. Season 3
Yeah,
has some great stuff coming at you.
I've heard season 3 is the peak. I heard season 3 is the peak of The Wire. I've heard not so great stuff about season 5, and season 4. I've heard. Well, Alex loves season 4, and
So
I know season 4 is about the education system.
What I can tell you is that the stuff that I remember from season 4 and 5 are the political stuff. So you've met Councilman Carcetti, right?
In season 3, yeah.
I
saw. I haven't finished the episode, but yeah.
So you've met him. Seasons 4 and 5, I think, start to be more like. So you got to think that like The Wire is a show about Baltimore. It's not a show about drugs and police and whatever, right? Like it is that, but it's a show about Baltimore. And so,
so we don't just get like, West Baltimore. Now we get a little glimpse into East Baltimore with, what was his name? Proposition Joe, I think is his name. So yeah, so we meet him and the people under him, especially in season 2. And of course we get in season 2, we get the stevedores, we get the guys working on the dock. And I'll be honest, like I don't know how you felt about that plot, but I actually the death of Frank, spoiler alert, that hit me. I kind of knew that based on the way they showed the end of the penultimate episode. Don't say that. Don't say that on stream. I'm worried about that. So,
you're worried that people are gonna know.
No. I'm worried. I don't want to like no derogatory, anything racially derogatory. None of that. So
you can't be racist against white people.
Well, like I said, just something I want to stay clear of. So, but yeah, that too. Like I literally heard, dude. I said, I'll say this without revealing my last name, but I don't hear this often. But I don't hear my last name often in a TV show. It was said once. It was said once, and I won't say who it was, but. There's a character in that show. They had the same last name. I heard the last name.
I just want you to know.
Holy shit.
I just want you to know that everyone in the chat and me, we're witnessing you being one of those people who doesn't care about this. You just want representation. You just want more Polish representation. And you don't even care if the story is good. You don't care if it makes sense that they're in the story. You just Polish representation. That's what the Nerdporeal life form wants. You guys, you heard it here first. I mean, I'm as shocked as any of you in the chat that he would be this way. I mean, there's such a.
I really like that. I really did like that storyline. I don't know. There was weight to it, and yeah, I was like the end of the season. I was like, I hope they get those guys. I hope they get those bastards. No, they didn't. They slipped. They slipped through. So
the point that I was making about it being a story about Baltimore, one of the things, and just this is what it is. One of the things that makes it a good Baltimore story, right, is that there's not often just a victory for the good guys. The sad thing about Baltimore, and I say this, having a good friend, like several good friends who are actually from the city, having gone there several times.
I don't think I've ever been there.
Yeah. There's good parts and bad parts, but
like any city.
The sad thing about it is that this, you could make The Wire again today, right? Like very, very little has changed. It's changed in detail. You
can't write it the same way. You can't say all the things that they said in the show.
That's true. You couldn't make the TV show The Wire the story of The Wire could be told today and still be just
Oh, absolutely.
right. Like
I
it's
don't think much has changed at all in 2 decades.
yeah. So I mean, there's parts of Baltimore that have gotten a lot better. There's parts of Baltimore that have gotten worse. There's but it's all about the same. So
Yeah. I was getting like there's a point in the show, and this is why I kind of knew what was going to happen to Frank at the end, based on everything. I'm sure you've seen Goodfellas, right?
yeah,
So there's the scene where Lorraine Bracco is being is like, hey, Robert De Niro's like, hey, come here, your stuff is over there, your stuff is over there in the alley. And then she's just like, no. And then she just leaves. And then there was a moment in season 1 of The Wire where Weebay is leading D'Angelo somewhere, and D'Angelo is just like he's just you. And it took me a while to pick up on this, but you look at his facial expression, you look how he's reacting to what's going on, and all of a sudden Weebay's like, oh, I need you to feed my fish. Because D'Angelo thought he was, being taken to a dark room to be, got, as they say, he got in The Wire. So,
for sure.
So so when I saw that with Frank is not like he's not like, I mean, he associates with criminals, but he himself is like, he's naive to the game, as they say. So he didn't know what he was going into, and that's kind of why he ended up getting killed, I think. I mean, they knew that he was gonna inform on them, and just because his son got insulted. So what did he do? He took a gun. He killed one of the smugglers.
Man, Ziggy is such a freaking case.
Yeah, and it was like, you see, like I thought it was funny. He has like this like he has like no respect whatsoever. So everyone on the dock is saying, hey, you can take that dude on. You could take, what was his name, Maui, the big dude who ends up being the informant for what's her name, the port. I forgot the lady, the port lady, the port cop.
That was funny when they all egged him on. That was pretty.
They all egged him on. So he tries to hit him, and he just like grabs him, puts him on the lift, and then throws him on top of the storage bin, and they just leave. He's like, anybody helps him, you're gonna go up there too. Yeah, it's just it was just Ziggy was very, very insecure, and he was like, he was showing his dick, he's showing his dick, and it's stupid shit like that. So
yeah.
But I was like, oh God. So if anyone was going to be the downfall, Frank would be his son.
Yeah. All right. Let's we got some people hanging out in the chat. Let's ask them what topics would you guys like to have us discuss? Any of you guys want to talk about anything in the news? Any shows coming out? Any pop culture stuff? Just throw some stuff in the chat.
I heard you're gonna see. Aren't you gonna see Barbie or something? Isn't that the new big movie?
Okay, so this is actually an interesting question. I keep on seeing all this press coverage for like Barbie and like Barbenheimer and like, oh, like Barbenheimer, it's a real thing. People are gonna go see both. I'm sorry. The Barbie movie looks like trash. All of the media coverage of it, like it's a super feminist movie, like. That's code for its shit. Like, let's be honest. All of us have seen movies for the last 10 years. If anyone tells you it's a super feminist movie, it's trash. Like, I can't think of a single movie where that's not true. So is anyone in the chat going to see Barbie? Like, is this a thing? Like, are people going to watch this movie? Also, though, I saw today that Oppenheimer is almost 3 hours long. Is anyone going to see Oppenheimer? Like,
I'm actually considering
those movies. Like, I don't want to see either one.
I'm considering seeing Oppenheimer, but the thing is, I saw Tenet when it came out, and I was not happy with Tenet. Like, I ended up looking at my phone. Like, I had like the sound was terrible. I couldn't hear what they were saying. and I couldn't hear. So I did. Well, so when I'm looking at scenes, I don't understand the context of what's going on. So, and this was like this was like 2020. This was like, in the middle of the pandemic and all that.
So Thumb is saying he's going to see Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer actually doesn't look bad. And what's funny is that Cillian Murphy. I looked at a picture of Oppenheimer. He looks a lot like they look alike. Like he got
they picked a good actor
down perfect.
They picked a good actor, right? And there's a potentially good story to be told there. I don't know the details of the story they're telling, so I don't know if it's a good story. There's a lot of ways you could spin that story about the founding of the atomic program and all that kind of stuff, right?
Manhattan Project.
Damn, 3 hours, man! A 3-hour movie, like
I mean, I think most of Chris Nolan's movies are that long, anyways. And I mean,
I gotta say, I
think Interstellar was like 2 hours and 45 minutes. Dunkirk, I believe, was 2 hours and 40 minutes. So 3-hour movie doesn't surprise me at all.
Gosh, that's crazy to me. I don't know. I was probably gonna see Oppenheimer, and then I heard it was a 3-hour movie, and I'm like, Mrs. Pips is not gonna sit through a 3-hour movie. They're not gonna happen. So
But most movies are now. Most movies are at least 2.5 hours now. Like, whatever happened to the 1 hour and 45-minute mark that used to be, the thing?
I think the 2-hour movie is probably the average now. I think it used to be 90 minutes, right? Like the average movie used to be kind of like 90 minutes. That was 90 to 100 minutes.
I mean, a 90-minute movie, like maybe a horror movie or an animated movie, 83 minutes for an animated movie. But yeah, most movies were like an hour 45 usually.
Yeah, so 90 to 100 minutes. We're somewhere in that ballpark, right? And now I think they're like 120 to 130 is like the average. 3 hours is still really long. Like three hours is Lord of the Rings extended edition. Like that is long.
Return of the King is 4 hours, dude. Well, extended edition, dude. Yeah. Huh. When I seen I love all 4 hours of that though.
There you go. Thumb is backing me up here. 90 minutes is standard. 120 minutes was considered a long film. I agree with that. I think that like when I was a kid, like a 2-hour movie was like that was a long movie. 3 hours, it's like, dude, you need to have an intermission, man. Like if I'm supposed to be eating popcorn and drinking soda, like
I remember when Return of the King came out, the theatrical version itself was like almost 3 hours and 15 minutes. I remember when it slowly dips to black when Frodo and Sam are on the they're still in Mordor, and the ring is already destroyed, and they're just waiting. They're waiting for their fate, and I remember people were trying to get up and leave, and then when the movie didn't end, they got pissed off. I remember hearing groans all over the theater. I was just like, I'm like, shut up. Guys obviously aren't familiar with the story, so.
Yeah, Gadfly, I agree. Yeah, a proper intermission for 3 hours with the bar easily accessible. That's fair. These are fair points.
I can say that for some of my longer content, I may or may not have intermission for some retrospectives I might have done.
Hey, Fëanor's in the chat. Hey, how's it going, brother?
What's up, Fëanor? Yeah, Fëanor. I've been like, I love Fëanor's tweets. I've been looking like ever since I followed Fëanor, I've been seeing his tweets every day. His tweets are awesome, and I have to respond to all. I've responded to almost all of them. So yeah, here's to the Silmarils. So yeah, me being a smartass.
That's not what you want to say. You want to say we don't have any Silmarils here. You should go ask Trip about the Silmarils. She might have some. I heard her talking last week about how she definitely had some of the Silmarils.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what you mean. So. But everybody who's still here, appreciate it. So but yeah, like once again, why we gotta talk about Omar. We gotta talk about Omar.
2.5 hour movies at least.
What?
I was just saying, Ma'alenir said that Ridley Scott movies are all 2.5 hours at least.
Okay, I got a question. Okay, I'll ask you this: do you have a favorite Ridley Scott movie, if you even know? Like Gladiator. Honestly, I know Gladiator's obviously one of his best. I think
so.
Won Oscar.
I'm terrible at like even remembering actors' names. I'm even more like directors. I couldn't tell you the director of any of my favorite movies. Couldn't do it. I have no idea.
Oh, but yeah,
I'm
okay.
not a cinephile like you cultured people over here. I'm just a dumb horse. I just I know what I like. I know it when I see it, and that's about how it goes.
Yeah, you're just really into the deep. You're really into the deep. You're really into the deep philosophical, the deep history, the deep psychological, the what makes the world, what makes the universe move, what the weaves, the what causes the wheel of time to rotate.
Yep.
Yeah. See, there you go. See,
Yeah.
see? Does that mean I have Pips figure out? Absolutely not. So, okay. So
it'll piss Dane off. Dane Bornhold, a few other people from the Discord hate the movie Gladiator. It's a fun movie. Like, I don't know how much like you have to disapprove of fun to dislike the Gladiator. Like, is it a historically accurate account? No. Is it claiming to be? Also, no. Like,
but it's a revenge tale. Who doesn't like a good little revenge tale? I mean, I like them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what made Tarantino his career in the first place. So there you go. Well, actually, no. It was robbery. it was robbery and Mexican standoffs that made his career in Reservoir Dogs. So, but if it's a movie that's really good and it's long enough, I would love it. But nowadays, with the type of entertainment that we get, especially you have your 2.5 hour Marvel films now, and you're in your modern Star Wars, it's just like I feel like I could use that time for something else.
So here's my problem with the like 2+ hour movie, right? I can't remember the last like 2+ hour movie that I saw that didn't have probably at least 10% too much stuff, right? Like, so for example, here, let me look this up here.
Oh boy, I can't wait. I might have had too much to drink too. I'm already sailing.
All right,
the
so
sails are unfurled, and they're going to keep.
Perfect example: Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Right?
Oh, you saw it. I saw it too. What'd you think?
2 hours and 43 minutes long, right? Which is longer than I thought. Wow, that was a long movie.
It was.
It felt like a long movie, and I would say, and this makes the point perfectly that I was making. After the scene at the airport, right? So the airport is like scene 3 or scene 4 in the movie, right? So after the scene at the airport, every single scene after that probably could have been 10% shorter on average. Some scenes could have been probably 30% shorter, but like in general, take 10% of the runtime from that point on in the movie, and the movie would have been better. Like it just like the scenes just would have been better. So like the chase scenes, the fight scenes, the action,
let's just say they're defying
the train scene, like all of it. Literally all of those scenes 10% shorter, and it would have been a better scene, and you would have lost nothing. And I think that's just what modern Hollywood is. I think that the reason that movies have gotten longer is not because we're telling more complicated stories. It's because people don't know how to freaking edit anything anymore.
No, they don't. No, I agree with that. Like it's just trim it down or refine it and make it tight.
We're not spoiling anything.
Tom Cruise dies at the end. Oh wait, sorry. Oh wait, that was part 1. Sorry. So there's going to be a part 2. That's the only thing I'll say is that there's going to be a part 2. But I don't know. I mean I'm kind of with now I haven't seen the 6th one. I think I've seen all of the Mission Possibles, even the first one. But if you want to know a really good Mission Impossible, you got to watch the original '60s series. I mean, it's basically it's the same thing. You start off with the recorder, guy, the leader, Mr. Phelps, goes, and he through various means, whether it's in a phone booth or if it's a hotel underneath a desk or in a drawer or some random place, he finds his tape. Tape gives him his instructions, and then of course the tape always self-destructs after 5 seconds. And of course he goes back to his apartment. He takes out his briefcase. He has a profile on all the people that he thinks will be perfect for this mission, and they go into the mission a little bit, but we don't know how exactly they're going to execute it. And that's where the entertainment of the original Mission Impossible series comes in. We don't see until we actually see them doing it how they're going to execute the mission. And it's usually, most of the episodes are usually them trying to discredit a politician that's trying to start a war or something. So, and the thing is, they're always, even when they run into hiccups, they're always on top of things. Like, they know exactly what they're doing. Watching them is a lot of fun. And so, and it's a shame that in the first movie, like they made the main character, Mr. Phelps, a villain. Like the reason why Peter Graves, refused to be in the movie. And like Next Generation, Mission Impossible had a series in the 80s. The only thing is, unlike Next Generation, that series didn't make the rankings and all that. But yeah, the 80s was a big decade for like just bringing back shows from the 50s and 60s and movies too. So, but yeah, like I think like the best Mission Impossible is the original TV series, at least the first couple of seasons. Like, so there's some really, really entertaining episodes. And of course, it's a sister series to Star Trek because it was made in Desilu Productions. So because of that, you get to see a lot of actors from Star Trek, whether they're guest stars or heck, some of the cast. So like Leonard Nimoy himself was in a couple of seasons of Mission Impossible as another version of the Disguise Master. So different character, obviously, but yeah. So yeah, so I haven't seen the sixth one. All I know about the sixth one is that Henry Cavill had a mustache, and because they were doing post-production on the Justice League, that he looked terrible. So, but yeah, that's where I'm at with Mission Impossible. So I went and saw it because what the hell.
I went and saw it just because I knew that it was just going to be kind of a fun like popcorn movie, right? And some people don't like those types of movies. I liked the Dungeons and Dragons movie for
what else is there?
The same purpose, right? Like
what else? I mean, what else is there besides popcorn movies? I mean, there's not a whole lot of deep,
No, there
highbrow
are
movies.
There are, well, okay, not coming out right now, right? I'm saying like, there are psychological kind of thrillers and suspense movies, and there are horror, and there's lots of different genres of movies. But like, a summer blockbuster action movie is not going to be a character-based drama with a really tight plot and all. It's going to be Tom Cruise jumping out of planes and making out with beautiful women, and like, that's a fun time. You just you go there, you sit back, you relax, and you just enjoy the spectacle of the movies, right?
I was actually really pleased to see like they had the female lead in this new Mission Impossible. She looked was Haley, I forget her name, from
Haley Atwell.
Haley Atwell. Holy shit! Yeah, like
she crushed it.
Absolutely. And
I was covering Mrs. Pipps's eyes. I was being like, don't look. This is for me. This is for me only. But hey, Trip is complaining in the chat. She wants to know what kind of original story would we like to see made? What genre? What kind of plot? What if you could make an original story? Like what kind of thing would it be?
That's a good question. I mean, it would have to be something where, like, and I've said this several times, it would have to be something where it would have to be something where I can get easily invested in the characters. I would know what they want, and I would know, like, and of course there would be danger. There would be some sort of, there would be something, a conflict. There would be something that would, create conflict, whether it be a situation or maybe a single person, a villain, an antagonist, or whatever. And it would have to be built well to it. I mean, that's kind of why I liked, or something, or it could be something where you have likable characters that you can get behind, and then they go off and they do this interesting thing, like Star Trek. So, and then of course, there's, I mean, it's really hard for me to say. Like, I like to, it just has to be something that's compelling enough, and something that, like, I keep using the word investment, but I don't know how else to describe it. But I'd like to see something. I'd like to see another awesome space opera. But again, with the way that modern entertainment is just, they're just taking all the space operas that we know and they're turning them into something lesser. I mean, look, fantasy, like Wheel of Time, like the books Robert Jordan wrote had a lot of gravitas behind it. Like, there's a lot of, there's a lot of heavy shit in there, and like, going back to the Luce Theron thing, like, it's just they take things and they make them pedestrian. And I watch this, I'm like, why should I take this seriously? So, I mean, it's just, yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna answer the same question here. What would I like to see? So I'm gonna say I actually really like the kind of like post-apocalyptic, kind of like zombie movies, like those types of things. I really do like that genre. It's a lot of fun.
Did you watch The Walking Dead at all?
So I did. I watched it up until, I don't even remember what season. Whatever season was like after the one where the Asian dude got bashed.
Negan? You mean got Negan'd?
Yeah, he got Negan'd. So I think
7.
I watched up to like that, and it just, it had frustrated me for a long time, for exactly the point that I'm going to make here. One of the things that really annoys me is the fact that shows that purportedly have, like military kind of stuff going on have really like egregiously bad tactics. And so I use The Walking Dead as an example because you brought it up. When they were in the prison in like season 3 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like a huge part of the problem that happened at the prison that ultimately made them like have to get out was that they like didn't have anyone on guard. like nobody was like awake at night patrolling. Like, no one's in the watchtowers like doing stuff. They weren't out there like, doing what you should do, which, like, if they had just gotten like a big lifted truck and put like little scythes on the side and just like driven around the perimeter and just mowed down all the walkers, right? Like, could have solved all these problems. But like, in general, tactics for military stuff and shows is really terrible. And it's egregious to me because there are so many people who have the appropriate background to improve these stories that would do it for free. Like I will tell you, I'm not unique in this. If some Hollywood, company was like, hey, we're making this movie and we want to have, like a tactical advisor who like kind of just gives us, helps us tweak the story, makes it a little more realistic. Like, so many service members would be like, absolutely. Like, I don't even need any money. Like, put my name in the credits at the end so that I can point to my buddies and be like, yeah, screw you dudes. Like, I got to talk to you guys suck,
Yeah, it's a shame that they don't make that effort anymore. Like, I mean,
Danu is leaving. See ya. Thanks for coming out. So that has always annoyed me. That's the story that I would want to make. I want them to make that post-apocalyptic zombie movie or something like that and have it be like realistic, like gritty, like the survival aspects, but have it be like smart people making smart decisions and having to deal with real problems, not the foreseeable and likely consequences of poor decisions where like you as the audience are just like, this is so dumb what you're doing. Like, it's going to end poorly. And then you have to wait 5 episodes for it to end poorly. You know what I mean? Like, that's so frustrating.
So have you seen this? So I have not seen The Duelist. That's one thing I've been meaning to check out eventually. It's on my list. So
I have not.
All right. Set in the Napoleonic period. Yes. Hey, did you see the Napoleon trailer, by the way?
I actually have not. Yeah.
Oh, okay. It actually doesn't look too bad. I might that might be another period piece. Okay, I'll say this. I have a fascination with period pieces. That's something. Maybe because they come up. Maybe they might come across as epic films. Longer and But then again, with modern entertainment, like you have to really You have to really. I mean, there are gems out there. There are diamonds in the rough out there nowadays, but. But with period pieces, I don't. I'm a little more confident. It's always the bigger franchise, the popular ones that get mowed down with all the bad shit or genre or
You're gonna like
nerd
this.
genre.
You're gonna like this. I'm gonna change my answer. I would like to see good post-apocalyptic. Like I like that genre. It's a lot of fun. There's so many times that story has been told and it's just been told poorly, and it's always frustrating. And it's frustrating when people watch it and they say that they like it because they don't have brain stems.
So their hearts don't beat.
Yeah. But here's what I would want, and you guys, hopefully you all agree with this. I want to see not bullshit Netflix or Amazon. Screw those places. I want to see HBO from 2005, 2005 HBO, or maybe even season 1 through 3 Game of Thrones HBO. I'm not so sure about current day HBO. We'll see. But I want to see old school HBO make a quality Dresden Files. Chicago's Wizard needs some good representation. They made a terrible 1-season show on Sci-Fi.
I heard about that.
It was not very good. It was not very good. They cast a good Dresden. I like the actor that they cast for Dresden. I don't remember his name, but he's a good actor. They cast 100% the wrong girl for the lead, his partner, whose name unfortunately escapes me right now, which is crazy. They cast the wrong person there. She's supposed to be a little petite blonde, and they cast a brunette. So they really wheel a prime to that one.
So did they? So did that season even cover any of the books, or was that an original
I don't think
story?
so. I think it might have honestly, it might have only been a pilot episode. I don't remember anything about it other than it was pretty cringe. It was not good. But yeah, a solid Dresden Files would be fantastic. That's a show honestly, think of Supernatural, right? The old show, 20 episode format, Supernatural. You could do a 20 episode format Dresden Files that would freaking slap. It would be so good. It'd be so much fun. Low fantasy is what TV shows should be making, because the real thing with low fantasy, and again, I said this at the beginning, right? Low fantasy is not a hit against that genre. It's just a fact that less world building has to be done because it's in our world. We know how our world works. You don't have to explain it to the audience, right? And that's why I think low fantasy is actually the one that really fits well with good TV shows and movies and stuff like that. That's why I think Harry Potter was, as successful as it was cinematically, because they didn't have to spend as much time explaining everything. It all kind of made sense, right?
Yeah.
Platform 9 3/4, they didn't have to tell you what a train was, and I think the general rule applies. I think a Dresden Files show can be fantastic. So
I have the first book. I have a lot of first books of a lot of series on my Kindle.
You have to highlight Feanor's last comment. Sorry, that's gold.
What, this one?
Yeah.
Everyone is saying that Oppenheimer bombed. Oh, God damn it. That's a good one, actually.
Feanor, I'm giving you a high five right here. We got him right there. That was on the Nerdporeal. The views of the chat, the views of the highlighted chat do represent the views of the Nerdporeal. He highlighted it. That wasn't me. That was him. He chose to do that.
Yeah, that's exactly that. That was actually really. That's terrible. It's terrible. I was like, wait a minute. For a second, I was like, wait a minute. It did ban in Japan. I was like, oh, there you go.
That's good.
And then I might have had. Might have had,
that was Feanor. That was Feanor with the alley oop right there. You know, he really set it up, and I just kind of just a little tip in.
little push.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely want to get Feanor on. We gotta talk some Lord of the Tolkien, Lord of the Rings and whatnot. So
Feanor is a great guest. I really wish that he would have been on with us for our last episode. But we're gonna hopefully have him on again. We'll get some stuff there. You guys should all subscribe to his YouTube channel that I think still has no videos on it, and like subscribers. Go subscribe to the Alpha Chad Feanor on YouTube. But yeah.
Is this a Chillporeal sighting? I don't know what that is. Nas, what's up, Nas? By the way, I don't know what that. I don't know.
Nas, how the hell are you? It's been a while since I've seen you around. We're just shooting the shit over here. You got to you got to talk to us and tell us anything you want to talk about.
Yeah. So you said you read the Silmarillion.
Yeah, I did
during the stream. Okay. Did you read like right after Lord of the Rings or something, or did you read it like much later?
I read it. Yeah, I read it right after Lord of the Rings.
What'd you think? I mean, I know it's like I think it's supposed to be a history, but I think it's a very poetically told history, if I remember correctly.
So to be honest, I'm gonna buy myself a copy of the Silmarillion and I'm gonna read it again because I read it.
I've not read it. That's the thing.
Potentially too young to really appreciate it for what it was. I read the Lord of the Rings when I think like in kind of like middle school, sort of to like middle school to like early high school was kind of like the time period where I was reading the Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and I'd read The Hobbit before, but I reread that and I read the Lord of the Rings.
I'm curious, how did you like? So my family didn't know about Lord of the Rings. No one in my family knew about Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit or anything like that. So it wasn't. I said this on Salty's. Was it Fires of Fandom, to the Tolkien one. And I actually learned about Lord of the Rings, believe it or not, through the church I went to when I was a kid. We were Orthodox, so my Sunday school teacher, especially, I was in. I think I was a freshman or something in high school at the time. Maybe I was in 8th grade. I don't remember. It was late 90s, and he was showing us like who got cast as who in Lord of the Rings, and I didn't even know Lord of the Rings was the sequel to The Hobbit. So I heard about The Hobbit and I heard about the Lord of the Rings, and I didn't even know they were related. I just knew that they were both fantasy, and so like my when I was a kid, when I was younger. My only thing I knew about fantasy, and I'm sure I've told you this, is my love of Legend of Zelda on Nintendo. So that's pretty much. So when I think fantasy, I think elves or characters with pointed ears, and there's magic that you can do, and there's monsters, and there's super villains, and there's dungeons, and booby traps and everything. So. And I heard about Lord of the Rings, and I heard like that there was. I was like, "Is there magic in this?" And I was surprised that there really wasn't. Like the only magical aspects really were pretty subtle, especially coming from, like obviously, Gandalf and the elves. But even that stuff wasn't quite, as defined. And I feel, yeah, and I don't know. That's how I always. So it took me a while to get used to reading the Wheel of Time, where they actually, do cast magic. Like they do in video games. So what point am I trying to make?
I have no idea.
I have just too much to drink. Yeah, but I learned about Lord of the Rings from my church. I'm curious how you learned. Like, did you family members or friends get you into Lord of the Rings? How'd you first? You remember how you first? Got the book when you read it as a kid.
So I think I said this on Salty's Fire of the Fandom series, right? So the first encounter that I ever had was it was a record of the book, like the cartoon book accompaniment for The Hobbit. So like the vinyl Hobbit that was like some of the dialogue and like the songs and stuff like that. There was to go along with like a book, right? My grandfather had it, and that was my first interaction with it. And it didn't really get my attention that much. It was maybe a couple years later. My older brother, I think, read it, and kind of between having like, had like the record and hearing him say that it was good, like I ended up reading it, and so I read The Hobbit and I liked it. And then like a couple years later, I read The Lord of the Rings, and I reread The Hobbit, and then I read The Silmarillion, and that was around the time that the movies were coming out, kind of a few years after I read it, I think is how it worked out. But
did you read any of the other supplemental material, like the Unfinished Tales or anything like that? Because I know those were out at the time too.
I'm not a Tolkien scholar, right? So I've read. I think having read The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, and The Silmarillion puts me in, the 5% of Tolkien readers. But I'm not the I haven't read any of the, the Children of Huron or the Unfinished Tales or like any of that stuff. So, which, I probably should, honestly. I know that a lot of people have read them and they say that they're all really worth it. They're great stories. It's just, I always have so much on my read list,
So what are you currently reading, if I may be so bold?
So I'm reading Crossroads of Twilight in a reread of The Wheel of Time.
So you're slogging through the slog right now.
You know what? To be honest, I'm kind of enjoying Crossroads of Twilight right now, which is it really hurts me a little bit.
I think you're the only one that actually says that. I think everybody else has said.
I have previously always said that I think Crossroads of Twilight is the only book that actually qualifies as the slog. And I'm not to the end of it yet. Maybe I'll feel differently by the time I finish it, right? But so far, maybe as I've matured a little bit, I have a different appreciation for the book.
How many times have you read Crossroads of Twilight? I know. Like you said, you like every time a new book came out, you always reread the earlier books. So I'm assuming you've read the earlier books way more than you've read the later books.
That's true. This is one of the questions. I bet like every time I answer this question, I probably give a different answer. And so those of you who are paying attention at home probably are calling me a liar.
Hey, we're not here to judge. If you have a different answer or you have an embellished tale, tell it.
I don't add. I never kept a count, but I would say I think conservatively I have read The Eye of the World somewhere between 7 and 10 times. I've read the end of the series, so the last 3 books, somewhere between. I think I've read the last 3 books 3 times. And this will be my 4th when I finish this reread. I think that's correct for the end of the series. So I've read the start of the series more. I'm not Dane, who has read book 1 like 30 times, and read the rest of the series, 15 times.
Is that why you didn't make the book cloaks cut?
He invited me to be on. I'm not sure that the schedule makes sense for me to be able to be on. But also, like I like that we're doing a segment with getting other people's voices on. Like I don't have to be on every stream that the White Cloaks do. In fact, I like not being on every stream that the White Cloaks do. It's a lot of work and a lot of time in my schedule. I feel for you, Nerdporeal, doing this whole YouTube thing all on your own.
I limit streams to once a week. I mean, it was like I haven't, it's funny is I haven't needed to make new videos. Like I've been going up in subs because of earlier videos that I've made.
Yeah.
Videos that I made last year. I mean, I know you're not much of a video game not much of a video game person. But
not really.
Mario RPG was something that got announced recently as a remake. And because of that, I made a Mario RPG video last year because that was one of the earliest RPGs that's the first RPG I've ever actually played as a video game. I never even knew what an RPG was before that. So, and so because of that, it just blew up. So all of a sudden I'm close to 3,000 subs. I don't know. Like I didn't do shit. Yeah, exactly.
We're still a lowly 500 subs.
You guys are going up. I mean, I'll be honest. Alex's video, and as far as I'm, every time I read Robert Jordan's quotes, you nailed it, Pips. You nailed Robert Jordan.
I don't sound anything like him. I did.
You don't sound anything like him, but when I read like his stuff, I hear your voice. Don't ask me why. Maybe it's a mind virus. I don't know what it is, but
sounds terrible.
Like, yeah, I don't think you did bad at all. I think you did a pretty good job. Like everybody was, I think everybody was happy. I was happy, and I thought that was a great freaking video that Alex did. And you make great content too. You made the Dungeons and Dragons video, and you made that awesome video about the Easter eggs. Like
nobody watched that. That is like 12 people who've watched it.
That is not. I swear, no. I swear that went over 100, at least 150 views at least.
Well, I would say almost all of our videos get over like 120 views or so because we have a rabid core of fans that really Dane goes and watches each of our videos 45 times. So that's really how that happens. So okay, I'm gonna accommodate the chat if you'll give me here. There were some people who wanted to take a look at my sword behind me there. Do you mind if we take a second? I'll show it off.
The sword that's behind you, right?
Yeah.
Not another sword. Okay, good. Yeah.
No, we're not going to do a Jeremy Wiener. We're not gonna do that.
I didn't see. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not wearing any pants. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I got to hang out with him. So yes, I know. I got to see that. I got to see that sword up close.
So. It's not quite the saber from the Princess Bride. No six-fingered man, commissioned this. No one died over its creation. It's nothing too crazy special. It's significant to me, I suppose. It's not anything that is horribly fancy as a sword goes. It's a Marine Corps officer saber. So if you see closely on there, it's got some detail, kind of some scroll work, a little bit on the.
It's not the black speech, is it?
No, it is not. No, it is not.
But what is that? What is that supposed to be?
It's a Marine Corps Mameluke. So yeah, Gadfly is correct. So it's a Marine Corps Mameluke. The history behind this blade is that the Marine Corps, the officers adopted this style of sword after the Tripolitan pirates kind of campaign in the Mediterranean. The Marines used to use the naval officer sword. That sword was handed, became the Marine Corps non-commissioned officer sword. But this one right here, it's the Mameluke blade. So is it strictly ceremonial, the sword, or has it been? I suppose strictly ceremonial in that, like, I've never killed someone with it. But
yeah, sure, yeah. But even like how long? Like I'm assuming the Marine Corps has always had the sword, had that type of.
I mean, it was used as a sword, for periods in the Marine Corps history, but it's. I mean, I can tell you this: it is a functional sword. It's not purely ceremonial, like it's not cheap or something like that. Like you could use it as a sword. You could easily stab people and slash and do stuff with it, but it's only used for parades. Parades and other people's wedding and my wedding are the only time that I've ever used it.
Oh yeah, so you actually have it. Yeah. Oh yeah. So you wear the dress uniform and then you holster the sword and everything. Okay.
Yeah. There, Matt saying that. There you go. Enlisted Marine used to call the officer sword the pig sticker. That's funny coming from an enlisted Marine because in the history of officer sort of swords and pistols, the person you're supposed to use the sword against is mostly the enlisted Marine. The officer's saber and pistol is, outside of real old school, where you were fighting with a saber on the deck of a ship, as the boarding party or repelling boarders. The idea was it is a tool of of coercion, you know, but less with the all volunteer force, obviously. But yeah, the sword back there, I have carried another sword, and I suppose I actually have another one of these that would be my father's sword. But so
Oh, your father was also Marine.
yeah, my father and uncle both. Yeah.
Okay, all right, family tradition. Oh, nice. Yeah. But yeah, thanks for sharing that, dude.
The comment there that Matt put, that that's probably why they call it the pig sticker. That was the point that I was making. That it's kind of funny. There's like an 1860s Marine Corps officer's manual that an enlisted Marine of mine found at like a used bookstore, and it had a great line in there. It was telling young officers like how to deal with junior enlisted Marines, and it said the enlisted Marine is cunning and crafty and bears considerable watching. was a description of how to be a young lieutenant. So he used to always bring that up, and he's like, I don't know, sir.
So you're saying the enlisted Marine versus the officer, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I'm totally clueless when it comes to rank and military and all that. Well,
okay. The 10,000 foot view is that officers give the orders, enlisted Marines carry them out, right? So that's the old school historical thing, right? Of like why it is that officer ranks are on the collars and why it is that enlisted ranks are on the sleeve is because officers are the shoulders upon which responsibility is, rests. And then enlisted, sailors, Marines, soldiers are the muscles that accomplish the actual thing. Right. And so it's an important, kind of relationship. And, Marines are a little bit different than the other services. We, one of the things that is true about the Marines, and, hey, I'm indoctrinated and I drank the Kool-Aid, but the difference in the Marine Corps is that if you walk into a group of Marines, officer enlisted, and you say, hey, Marine, everyone is going to turn and look, the officers and the enlisted Marines together, right? Because we're all Marines. Whereas if you walk into a mess on an army post and you say, hey, soldier, only the enlisted guys are going to look. The officers aren't going to respond to being addressed as soldier. Same thing with sailor, things like that for the Navy, the Air Force, Airmen, things like that. So Marines, I think, are a little bit different. But at the end of the day, there's still a difference. I've said that I've continued this joke. I think it's a great joke. But Marine Corps officers have been making enlisted Marines' lives hard since 1775. And that's
is that when the Marine Corps was founded, basically?
Yeah.
So basically,
November 10th, 1775, born in a bar.
Oh, empty. Oh, drink to that.
But
I know. I mean, what I do know is that Marines are part of the Navy.
Comment, no, I wasn't ROTC. To Nosferatu's comment, I mean, yes, I was a Pogue in that I was a person other than Grunt, in that Grunt would be infantry, frontline infantry. I was not ground combat arms. I have been and am a helicopter pilot. So I am the air combatant combat element.
I think that in order to have that, I think you have to have go to college, have a degree or something in order to get into that.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's been almost we're almost shy. We're 10 minutes shy of 2 hours. Is there anything else you want to talk about the last 10 minutes before we end this? I know you got a lot of stuff to do. You're really busy. I mean, here's the thing, everybody. I'm lucky to get pissed right now, and like the fact that he's here is just like, I mean, like we're like he's going through some major stuff right now, and he's not going to be around as much. I wouldn't say retire. You're not going to retire as a content creator. You're just going to be, less active.
Yeah, I mean the real thing is just that my schedule is not going to accommodate streaming, I think. And I may be wrong. Maybe I'll be able to hop on streams occasionally. But it's going to be probably the streaming stuff. And, as season 2 comes out, we're going to be doing streams on the channel. That's going to rest more on Dane and Alex and our great Discord community who are going to be participating in that. Prophet of the Dragon, other people we're going to be doing streams together.
Who?
But I'm going to be hopefully putting out some kind of scripted comment or scripted videos and things like that, and trying to still participate in the channel and do things, mainly because I just love the community. All right, like you guys are a lot of fun to hang out with in streams. You're good to hang out with in the comment section on the videos that we post. So it'll be unfortunate. I'm going to, realistically what it is as season 2 approaches, I'm going to have to sequester myself in a bunker and cut myself off from civilization for a while for my own safety and the safety of others. So.
Yeah. You see Chillporeal saying like, yeah, this is Chillporeal. He's saying something dumb. All right. I got to drink some more. So, yeah, dude. So, obviously season 2 is going to be coming out, so I'm assuming you're going to be covering every episode. You're going to be doing a like you said a scripted video.
I think I will do I'll do episode recaps and reviews and stuff like that. And if it works out where I can hop on a stream with a video, I'll probably try to. But I'm going to be trusting Alex and Dane to kind of run the show on getting those out. We'll hopefully be doing live streaming the actual episodes in the Discord, so that we can have a good time and just kind of talk and have a good kind of community engagement stuff when the episodes come out. But we'll also hopefully be doing the videos on the channel. So Dempsey, I'm still waiting on like the last couple things. So Dempsey, myself, and one other person, sort of collaborated on a video project, and the other guy, his work life has been pretty crazy and hectic, and so I'm kind of waiting on him to finish some projects and stuff. So.
Yeah, sounds about right. So if you want to hear something, Dempsey did, watch my Metroid retrospective. He did remixes of a lot of the iconic tracks. So definitely check that out if you haven't. So
Dempsey does great work. It was a real pleasure
Absolutely.
working with him, and I hope that Dempsey, I hope that you don't feel kind of put upon and used in the fact that like I feel like you and I kind of like worked a lot on it, and then like nothing has happened with it for like months and months, and I wish that it hadn't gone that way. But at the end of the day, I think the end result is going to be good. And the guy that I'm working with to get the rest of the project done, I think is, I don't want to push him. I want him to do the work, well, in the time that his schedule allows, all the stuff. And at the end of the day, I think that'll be the better result. So hopefully you don't feel like I kind of put upon you with that project, but you were great to work with.
Yeah, I'm sure that's definitely not the case. So, but yeah, it's pretty cool. I like seeing all of us, working together to accomplish something. I like working with people, asking, hey, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? So, Pips, I had you do something for me for one of my intros for Wheel of Time, and Nathan's been just a blessing.
You've done way more for us with your intro videos and stuff like that than I ever did for you. You're awesome with those intro and kind of outro videos. You do real great work. So thank you again for doing that. Sorry for always forgetting to record the things that I said I might record.
I did, yeah. So for Lord of the Rings, I did ask Pips because, and once again, I mean, Pips is the reason why the Lord of the Rings stream exist in the first place. That these are, I mean, if I'm wrong, correct me, but I'm assuming you're pretty much the driving force behind, this that series.
I do.
the book club and everything.
Trip can back me up on this. I do play the role of cat herder in the White Cloaks.
What does that mean?
Dane and Alex are two cats, and I have to herd them.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, well, Alex is a cool cat. Okay,
that was bad. You should feel bad.
I should. So I'm gonna have. I need to dull away the pain. So I'm gonna have a little bit more. So I'm actually really enjoying this. It's
good stuff. I saw at the store today they have a rye of the Jefferson's Ocean, and I almost bought it, but it wasn't on sale. It was like $85 a bottle, and I'm like, no.
this cost me $75.
Yeah, I'll buy it. I'll buy it on sale when I can get it for like $65 a bottle or so, or maybe if it's like $70 a bottle. But $85 a bottle, I'm like.
Yeah, so this was when I visited Pips, and I was when I was wait, what was I? Okay, sorry, I have a little too much.
Chillporeal is real.
I don't know what that. I didn't hear that. So yeah, when I was visiting Pips, and he was completely abstaining from alcohol because of Lent. So. He had the Jefferson's Ocean in his liquor cabinet, and you actually offered me some, and then you'll never let me live it down because of that. So
that is true.
So here you go. Cheers.
Trip, unfortunately, there's no alcohol there. I'm gonna have to be doing all of the Wheel of Prime season 2 reviews totally sober. It's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be bad. So
are the rewatches gonna be a later thing?
Yeah. We don't do the rewatches until the whole season's done. So we'll, once season 2 is done, we'll start on the rewatches. They'll be awful, I'm sure.
So do you think with the Sean Chan in this new season? I know we talked about the Sean Chan. Do you think so are the Sean Chan going to be agents of the Dark One based on I was reading an article today, and it seems like the Sean Chan. I don't know if it's just the author of the article being stupid, which is probably 99.5% of the case. Or
was it?
Do you think Rafe and his ilk would actually somehow connect the Dark One to the Sean Chan?
Oh, well, that was the point that I was making about having the Ishamael character, standing there next to High Lady Suroth. That seems to be clearly the point that they're making, which fundamentally, misunderstands kind of the role of the Sean Chan. I said this in a conversation in the Discord that the thing with the Sean Chan is that the Sean Chan were outside of Ishamael's plans, right? Ishamael had a very myopic kind of view, focusing around the White Tower and sort of the countries in sort of the Westlands. And that was the focus of his efforts. And so, the Trolloc Wars that happened there, messing with Hawkwing's kind of empire and stuff like that happened there. The White Tower and the fall of Malkier and all of these other kind of machinations, the Black Aja, like all these things all happened there. And so the Sean Chan showing up was actually a thing that he didn't count on. And ultimately the reason that, the last battle went the way that it did was this, this additional piece on the board. So to have the Sean Chan be aligned with the Dark One like that would be a real mistake, which is like, I would not at all be surprised if that's how they do it in the story. And like I said, the costumes indicate that that's what they're doing. They are making the Sean Chan not just foreign, but evil. That's what they're doing. That's what it appears that they're doing
with the costumes.
Yeah.
Okay. if you, all right, I'm not putting it together. How are they evil with the costumes?
So look
Is it
at
because of like the sky? Because one thing I noticed, especially with the helmets that they had, the helms, they looked like skulls instead of
yes,
bugs.
yes.
Which
So
is what,
instead of looking like bugs, they're very skeletal, right? Like they're
yeah,
they look way less, again, like insects and sort of like strange, and they look much more like monsters and demons and skeletons and things
because
like
if I remember correctly, based on what Mr. Jordan described in especially in the Great Hunt, if I remember correctly, like there were like some of the helms had either antennas, or at least that's how I imagine it, antennas or mandibles,
yeah.
to create that insect look, so to speak.
Yeah. I think that it would have been, those little feathers on the helmet would have been sort of like the sort of antennae, that sort of thing, right? Um, I kind of think that they probably looked, a little bit more like samurai helms or something like that. But here, let me see if I can actually find this image here. That's not a great one. I don't know. There's a couple ones that you can look at, but the big thing, right? Like we have we have a Robert Jordan approved kind of art of it. It's not amazing, right? Here, let me see if I can share my page here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I do that?
So I know the Sean Chan didn't show up, and I mean, obviously they didn't do a great hunt, comics. So I'm curious. I'm curious to see what
All
Robert
right, so
Jordan
this
approved
is
of. Here we go.
no, it's not going to be crazy, right? Like all this is the chapter sort of
Yeah,
icon from the books, right?
yeah,
So this is the approved, like Robert Jordan put this on the Sean Chan chapters, right?
yeah.
Um, like is that a like fully actualized piece of armor? No. But I think that I think that is enough to go off of to say that like they shouldn't have looked like skeletons. They shouldn't have looked like skulls. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Um,
I
and
mean,
so
that was one of the complaints that Steve and everybody else had yesterday, going through the trail. Like, well, they're like, "What the hell is this? Where's the insect? Where's the?" And people in the chat were like, "Where's the insect helms and all that?" So, yeah, that's where I picked up. That's how I picked up on it in the first place. So, you guys are awesome, by the way.
So here's you'll like this because it aligns with your other interest here. I'll show you. This is what I think that the current Sean Chan is modeled off of. This is what it makes me think of. Oh, come on.
Where are you sending me, Pips?
There you go. Do you see him?
Yeah, that's I don't know what that is. That's
The old school Koopa Troopa from the original Mario movie, right?
that's actually a Goomba, but yeah, you're close.
Goomba.
You're close
Thank
enough.
you.
You're
Thank you.
close enough.
Thank you. Sorry.
What's funny is I showed that movie.
The stupid big like giant mouth, kind of the giant
Yeah.
smiling mouth.
Yeah.
That's what I think of. Also a little bit Krogan's from Mass Effect, with like the weird back thing. I brought this up when I talked about the season 2 teaser trailer. I brought these both of these up.
Krogans.
Yeah, but,
it's been a decade since I played Mass Effects. I don't remember anything.
Yeah, but anyway, those are what I think of with the Sean Chan kind of troops and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's trash. It doesn't look good.
So is there anything? So I've been talking to someone on Twitter.
That's always
and they're saying that Yeah, I know. But this person was actually pretty critical for the first season. But they were saying that there's things that they recognize from the books in the trailers. I'm trying to, and I think I asked, and I don't think I got a response. So I'm curious, what was there anything you recognize? Like, is there anything from the books that they're doing? Obviously, besides the Sean Champ, but even the way the Sean Champ portrayed, I mean, the fact that you see Ishii, everybody calls him Ishii now, so. I mean that doesn't make sense. It looks like, and I said this yesterday. Rand looks like he's on a mission to have his balls cut off or get gentled, because I mean, you see him talking to Logain. They never, as far as I'm concerned, they haven't met yet. I don't even know if they ever meet. I haven't read the entire series yet. So
Yeah.
like why the hell are they talking to each other?
So that is absolutely dumb. They don't meet until Crossroads of Twilight. It's absurd to have them meet at this point in the story. There's one silly theory. I mention it briefly in my video. I won't go too far into this stuff. What I will say is that I think that the thing that I recognize the most, right, are like there's the accepted tests. There's Celine and Rand together. There's Egwene as a Damane. There's Perrin with the Shinarans. But the thing is the question in my mind in all of those things is the context, right? So I think I said this with the Celine and Rand relationship, right? That like there's some scenes in there that make it look like Celine is kind of manipulating Rand and sort of like egging him on to like use the one power to do some stuff, right? I'm like, yeah, I recognize that from the books, right? However, I don't see a way for the context to be the same as it is in the books, because, and this is the point that I make about that specific thing, sort of, a spoiler for those of you who are going to watch the video when I put it out, probably tomorrow. Portal stones are not going to exist in the show. I firmly believe that they're not going to have portal stones. And if they don't have portal stones, I don't actually know what Rand and Celine are going to be doing together. Like, I don't know.
So do you think Celine's going to be a thing? Because Prof and them say no. They don't think Celine's going to be a thing.
What do you mean Celine's not going to be a thing? Like she's just going to be Lanfear?
She's just going to be Lanfear.
So who knows? I think that's probably no. I think she's going to hide her identity, because if she just walked up and told Rand like, "Oh, I'm one of the Forsaken," like I don't think that's going to work. I think she'll still hide her identity.
But he won't. He like who? Forsaken? What Forsaken? Yeah. Oh
no, no. I think that they'll try and pretend that the Forsaken were established in season 1 because of
the chess pieces.
Dolls. Yeah. So the bottom line is like So here's my thing. I've said this about the shows from the start. The people who like the show, I think, are looking at like individual, not even like full scenes, like parts of scenes, and being like, I remember when these two characters met in the books, and like it was great, and I loved it, and they're doing like an a la carte consumption of the show, and from that perspective, I recognize things from the books in the show, but the context is not going to be there. The context is going to be wrong.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
I will say, and I say this in my video that'll come out probably tomorrow. So if you guys disagree with me vehemently and you don't want to watch it and you want to unsubscribe to the White Cloaks, go for it. I actually don't hate the actor that they cast for Lanfear. I think that she's a little too old, and I think the makeup department could have done a little bit of a better job in de-aging her a little bit. But she, I think, actually is a great actress. Like, I've seen her in other things. I think she's a great actress. I think she has the potential to be probably the strongest performance of the show, because I think that she does have some serious acting chops. and so I'm I'm actually kind of interested to see what she does with the character Lanfear. And I also think that she's one of those women who when she's on the Hollywood runway and she's got the dress and the makeup, she can from like that kind of very kind of controlled sort of view. She can be very gorgeous. She can be an attractive woman. I think that there's some very unflattering pictures of her because I think this is a thing that's true of models in general, like models and people who are like famous celebrities or whatever, often have sort of like strange features, if that makes sense, where like they have very strange is the right word, and that can look really good when it's done properly or whatever, but sometimes you see them like without makeup and whatever and you're like, oh, you're very weird looking. And I think she's kind of in that area, but like she's been in some movies where like I think she's very pretty. I think that I don't think that's going to be a problem for her in the role. She's a little too old. She's not quite as pretty as I probably would make Lanfear. But she's far and away not the worst acting cast that they've done for the Wheel of Prime. I think at this point we're so tired of being gaslighted as fans that like people are just kicking everything.
Yeah, I mean, there's no goodwill. So I mean, that's what to expect when you don't produce. So
yeah.
So do you want to hear? I know we're already past the 2 hour mark, but do you want to hear the other thing that I predicted? And this is terrible. And this is one of the greatest moments, and I completely, because of how the Wheel of Prime is and how terrible it is and how they do everything. Like nothing recognizable from Robert Jordan at all. So I have a theory about what ultimately happens to Ingtar in the series. I think Ingtar was confirmed, right?
I don't know, man. Like I'm sure that Rafe probably said that it's confirmed, like, oh yeah, like I wouldn't do anything, but like, that's like confirming that, Rand is the main character and then you watch the show,
So instead of, because Rand is not the main character of the show or the actor or anything, or any of the Ta'veren, the real Ta'veren, I think that Ingtar is going to reveal himself as a dark friend to Egwene or Nynaeve or Moraine or Elaine or all 4. They're going to be with him. And then when he tells them that he confesses that he's, dark friend and all that, I think they just bail fire him out of existence. No forgiveness, no nothing.
You think Ingtar is going to get bail fired?
Yeah. I just came up with the most insane theory, and I think, and I'm not saying I don't think it's going to actually happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does. Yeah, that this one got everybody flooring.
I don't.
As terrible as it sounds, but the way that they make shows now, like forgiveness is not a thing. Like Like that moment in the Great Hunt, I know will not be in it, and the basis,
yeah. I mean,
I took basically that moment. I just completely flipped it. I came up with the idea of simply flipping it because that's just how things are portrayed now.
I mean, I will say
it's not funny.
Nothing would make me more enthusiastic. Like I might even go so far as to say that Wheel of Time season 2 is a good show. Like I might actually come out and say that if Wheel of Time season 2 has Ingtar say the line, "No man may walk so long in the shadow that he cannot come again to the light," I might go on record and say it was a great show. It was a great episode, guys. The entire, the one line, it was a great episode. I enjoyed it. It was a wild ride. It was good.
I know they won't do it. I know they won't do it. I mean, if they do, I will be surprised.
There's zero chance.
Zero.
So yeah, I think, I don't think he's going to have his moment. I think he might, they might still make him, have the general arc, but he's not going to have the potency as a character. There's a theory floating around that they're going to give Leandrin, that kind of arc, which would, just be hilarious given the kind of Q&A answers that Rafe has given about how everyone in the writer's room they're just so on board. They love the Black Aja sort of storyline. It's whatever. I don't know what they're thinking at this point. And this is honestly one of my biggest things, is that at this point they've deviated so far from canon that I feel like asking people who are, really knowledgeable in the lore and the stories of the books, asking them to predict what the show is going to do is honestly like a wasted venture. That it's like the characters, aren't in the right point in development, and they're not geographically in the right places to pick up the story.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, like Rand is basically Dragon Reborn, so I don't know how you're gonna have the Great Hunt and that.
I will say
as much as I troll everybody and say it's the same book because a certain Rafe said that, it's not true. I mean, it's very if you're, it's bare bones connected. Like they're totally different stories.
Yeah, I will say, maybe controversial thought here. So the show, the trailer shows us Egwene going through the accepted trial, and a lot of people are like, oh, they're gonna have her and Nynaeve are both gonna go through the accepted trial. So I will say, I think that their story is the hardest one to do if you were trying to combine the seasons, the stories of book 2 and book 3, which I think is a bad plan. But if that's what you're trying to do, it's theirs is the hardest, because they go to the tower, they leave the tower, they come back to the tower, they leave the tower. Their story is sort of repetitive from that perspective. I think that I think they're going about it in the wrong way. I think that we're gonna see 2 full hours, I think, of the show is gonna be devoted to the 2 girls in the White Tower and the White Tower politics and all that trash. And that is wasted time. That is wasted time in the condensed story that they're trying to tell. I think that what should have happened is the show should have basically pretended that the accepted trial doesn't exist, and that you just right there in Faldara, they get inducted as novices, and on the way to the White Tower, Leandrin snatches them up and they go on their thing, and they never even come back to the White Tower to become accepted. That they basically hey, they're in Faldara, the Amerlin comes, and they're you're super strong, you're going to be an accepted, and you guys are going to be novices. And then they just kind of yeeted out to the side. By even having them go back to Tarvalon and doing those things, that's going to eat up so much of the damn time. It's just if you were to look at, hey, just books 2 through 5, right? Where books 2 through 6, right? Where do you cut material? You cut the White Tower shit. I'm sorry, you do.
I agree. I actually agree with that.
Get the girls on the road and have them develop out in the world with the other characters. Having them be the 2 characters alone in the White Tower and having to develop all that shit. No, all the people who want to see that, read the books. It's better there. Get them on the road, get them doing stuff, get them action. What is terrible in shows? School.
And speaking of the White Tower, why the hell is Rand there? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, 3 books in, he's never been to the White Tower. I mean, he met the Amerlin in Faldara, like you said, in the Great Hunt, and that was a great chapter. And we know they're not going to have that scene where he's he's basically reciting Manetheren and all that because Lan showed him or
Gadfly
prepared him
brings
for
up,
that.
they have to do something to establish them, send him after the Black Aja. I'm going to point this out. I've gone on record for saying this as well. Again, if you're having to cut material from the books, cut the Black Aja storyline. Like
I have a question, and I'm not asking for a particular answer, but how long now we're 2 books in, because I really, even though the Black Aja is mentioned by Balsamon in Eye of the World, I don't really consider it until Great Hunt where the Black Aja thing really truly starts. I'm curious how much longer this is, because I was surprised at the end of the Dragon Reborn that didn't resolve itself. Like they only caught 2 of the 13 or something at the end. So I'm just curious how much longer this is going to be.
It goes on for a long time, right? Like it's
like what to almost to the very end.
I'm not going to give you.
Okay, fine.
Read and find out, right? But I'm
just curious. I'm just curious, like how much longer it is. If there's a lot more to.
What I will tell you is that it goes on for a while, but you have to understand, like the stakes of the series are getting higher and higher and higher, right? So like early on in the story, a group of Black sisters, Aes Sedai, like that was a pretty serious threat, right? But by the time you get to the Stone Stands and you have literal Forsaken and Trollocs like showing up in major cities and like doing real shit, right? A few Black Aja sisters are like no longer the real threat, right? So like it's going to continue for a while, and they're going to do some stuff, and they're going to have some adventures. But it's just it's not worth the time, right? Like if you're saying that you have to compress 14 books and a prologue, which they should have just not told the story of the prologue instead of trying to shove all of Marine and the White Tower shit into Eye of the World season 1. But if you're going to tell 14 books of stories in 8 seasons of 8 episodes, which is their purported plan, like you have to make deep cuts, and some of those deep cuts are gonna you're gonna lose story, like you are. But you have to keep the core story. You have to keep the narrative arcs. You have to keep the character arcs, and you have to keep the core story. And the problem is they cut the core story and they expound it. They added on to the tangential stories.
Yeah, like you had that stupid Steppen episode, and it's insane.
Yeah, Dempsey, thanks for hanging out.
But yeah, I think that might be the biggest problem that people, fans of the books, or most fans of the books, have with the series, is the fact that they could have put the stuff in and they didn't.
So I have 2 related problems. One is I don't think resource management, right? They had a certain amount of time and resources, and they squandered it. They put storytelling effort into the wrong areas, in my opinion. And because of that, they told the wrong story, and they told a bad story, right? That's purely subjective. That's just my opinion. I think that they should have told the story closer to the way Robert Jordan told it. Called me old fashioned. I think the author of one of the best selling fantasy series ever made, probably knew how to tell his story, maybe just a little bit. The other one
is it one of the best selling series? Because I mean, as far as the way that maybe it's obviously probably just my perception, but I always thought that Wheel of Time was a little more niche than most fantasy. Is it just because it's primarily books and everything, and then of course this new non-adaptation came out as when it did. Because like none of the bigger channels are talking about it, and
so here you go, and this is going to be just a quick kind of Google to confirm this, right? So you're familiar with Terry Pratchett Discworld, right?
I've never read Terry Pratchett.
All right, so Terry, so here you go. Here's the top 10 fantasy series. Shadowrunner Chronicles, that's some YA trash, whatever, with like 36 million copies sold. Then you get the Vampire Chronicles, that one. not familiar with that one, to be completely honest. Anne Rice, I don't know, 80 million copies. Then you have Discworld, also 80 million copies. Then you have The Wheel of Time, 90 million copies. You have Song of Ice and Fire, 90 million copies. You have Chronicles of Narnia, 100 million copies. You have Percy Jackson and the Olympians, 180 million copies. Gosh, that's depressing. You have Twilight, 250 million copies. Gosh, that's depressing. Then you have Middle Earth. So you have, the Lord of the Rings series, 250 million copies. Harry Potter, 500 million copies. So basically, among I would say actual high fantasy, right? So and again, using the high fantasy, low fantasy always better performs high fantasy. It's more accessible. It's generally more, especially to young kids. A wider audience appreciates it. So the best-selling fantasy, low fantasy is Harry Potter. The best-selling high fantasy, you got Tolkien, right? Then Twilight, that's low fantasy, also trash. Percy Jackson, low fantasy, also trash. Although I'm mostly affected by the movies. I don't know. Maybe the books are good. I've heard they're YA trash. And then you have Narnia. That one is high fantasy, right? And then you have Game of Thrones and Wheel of Time tied in book sales, right? So admittedly, Wheel of Time has a lot more books than Game of Thrones does because George R. R. Martin can't finish his series.
Yeah, I know.
Also, had a major Game of Thrones kind of series, right? So realistically, when you're looking at it, I mean, high fantasy series, you have Lord of the Rings, you have Narnia, you have Game of Thrones, and
wouldn't Narnia be considered low fantasy?
No,
because it does take place in our world. It's just you go into a wardrobe and then all of a sudden you're in another world.
So that's
it's kind of like
the actual fantasy element is a secondary world, right?
All right,
so
fair.
So I'd still say it's high fantasy. Maybe we'll say Narnia is that mid fantasy that you were talking about. So you have Tolkien, you have Narnia, and then you kind of have tied in terms of book sales. You have Game of Thrones and you have The Wheel of Time. The Wheel of Time again has more books, so it's getting help from the number of books. But I mean, you're talking top 5, top 6, total kind of fantasy series of all time, in sort of per book sales. Yeah, there you go. I felt like I was on pretty firm ground to say Percy Jackson was trash. So, in low fantasy, there's some books that outperform it. Harry Potter outperforms it. Percy Jackson, friggin' the Twilight series, just YA low fantasy trash. But what I'm saying, you got Tolkien, you got Narnia, and then you got right there Wheel of Time, you got Game of Thrones, right? So it's definitely top tier in terms of high fantasy. And where was I even going with that? What did we start talking about book sales?
Because I was asking about I was under the impression that Wheel of Time was more niche now because you brought up the fact that it's a bestseller, and that's kind of how and then you looked it up, and that's kind of where it started. So I think you pretty much made your point. So yeah, Wheel of Time is one of the best selling series out there. You said 90 million. It's tied with Song of Ice and Fire.
I remember the point that I was going to make. So the point that I was going to make was that I have an issue with how they adapted it, the resources that they put into it. I don't think it could have been what it had the potential to be. The other problem that I have with the show is what I think is the either lazy or malicious stuff where there's no narrative purpose, there's no character purpose, there's no monetary purpose. There's no reason to have deviated from the books. And
what do you mean monetary purpose?
So it wasn't cheaper to do it the way that they did it, right? So I'll use the Heron Mark sword, I'll use the Aes Sedai rings, I'll use Loyal, his sort of like appearance, instead of having kind of pointed tufted ears and things like that.
Yeah,
like those types of things where he's less. You know what? I won't even talk about him. I'll just say like the Heron Mark sword and the Aes Sedai rings and Aes Sedai wearing dress. Well, the dress is one you can say is a political statement. So really, the Heron Mark sword and the Aes Sedai ring, I think, are the ones that like even show fans have to agree that there's no reason to have changed the description from the books other than that you didn't want to do what the books said. So that makes it malicious. Like you had the description and you chose intentionally and with forethought to not do it. And it didn't save you any money. It didn't look any better. It didn't, fix a problem with the story. In fact, it created problems in the story. It looked worse, like all these types of things. So that's my second problem. That's the objective problem that I have with the Wheel of Time. I know Twitter time people, hate the word objective, but that is an objective statement that the show, with no reason, deviated from the description of the world and of elements of the world.
And like I said, that's it. Or actually, like I've said before, like the fact that the one thing that the show that just, and this is just a modern thing too. It's just the utter disregard for what someone for the source of what the source of what source material. Mr. Jordan. Mr. Jordan, in his beautifully purple prose, describes and details everything. And based on learning from you guys and Prophet, especially his interactions with Chuck Dixon on the the Wheel of Time comic, or the Wheel of Time graphic novel, or Eye of the World, the graphic novel, he was very particular. He was very particular and very particular about how things were portrayed. He wanted things to be as true to his vision. So everything that you said, I fully agree with about the series, and that's why I don't like it. That's why I think it's probably one of the worst things I've ever seen, and that even includes Picard. And the Picard really hurt when I watched it. And I'm not talking about the first. The first season hurt, but the third season hurt too. So. But seeing this and seeing the fact that it's not just Star Wars fans, it's not just Star Trek fans. This is like just being a fan of anything in general, any type of story. And it's just like there's no goodwill. So how do you have to build goodwill in order for there to be any positivity. So when people, we had a troll yesterday on Steve's stream who was just mocking us for whining, because whining is the word now to describe people that are critical of the Wheel of Prime series. It's just, it's just like, we state our positions. Steve and both Steve and Corey both have stated their positions when dealing with this troll, and I was just like, no, I don't. You're an asshole. Go away. If you're going to whine about other people whining, then you're an idiot, and why should we even waste our time with you? I'm less. I don't know. After being dogpiled, I don't even want to suffer any people like that. So, and then if people are not willing to see, if people can't see that, then that's on them. We're gonna say our piece regardless. You're gonna say your piece. Steve's gonna say his piece. There is a fundamental difference between the books that Robert Jordan wrote and the series that this non-adaptation series, and I think Salty's perfectly correct on this, that Rafe Judkins made. Like you said earlier, it's not the Wheel of Time. It could be inspired by the Wheel of Time. It could use some of its characters. Heck, look at Throne of Blood by Kurosawa. That's basically Hamlet, or not Hamlet. That's Macbeth, but they don't call it Macbeth. They call it Throne of Blood, and it takes place in Japan. It doesn't take place in Scotland. So, you can still do stuff, but if you're going to make an adaptation, of something, if you're going to make a very first adaptation, it should be faithful to the source material. And if you make further adaptations down the line, then do that. But then again, that's if the world was according to me. Unfortunately, it's not.
No, I mean, I think your point, like the first adaptation versus the follow-on one, I think is important. I think the real sin that I accuse this Wheel of Prime of being guilty of here is, I think it kind of salted the earth. It's tainted the well at this point, that the Wheel of Prime, the Wheel of Time will never get another adaptation. This one is going to get canceled. We'll maybe see season 3. I always thought we'd see season 3. We wouldn't see season 4. With the writer's strike, we may see season 3. I think if season 2 gets the shitty ratings that it deserves, honestly, at this point, I think that season 3 will get canceled. They'll just, hey, it's not worth it with all the writer's strike and everything else. Just cancel the thing and move on. Use the writer's strike as an excuse. Amazon will love that because they can be anti-union and say, the writers are responsible for canceling this.
And we support the unions. We support the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild.
So that's, I think that's the real problem, is that the Wheel of Time community has wanted a good faith adaptation for decades, right?
Wasn't there points where there were announcements? Wasn't there a point where there were announcements, but then things just didn't pan out?
I mean, for
the 2000s, perhaps, or
the
2020s.
better part of 15 years, they've been talking about making a show or making movies, and it never materialized. And honestly, I'd say that I wish it never had. Right, like it would be better if we were still. It would be better if we were still wishing for something, and then 5 or 10 years from now, once all of this ridiculousness in current Hollywood is blown over because all these companies have gone bankrupt, maybe we'd get a good Wheel of Time. But like the series, like, and I've invest this much money in this IP again after seeing it fail. They're going to use this and say, yeah, this IP doesn't have the legs. It's not worth it. So we're not going to see another Wheel of Time production until AI screenwriting and art gets to the point where you can just upload the PDF of the 14 books and have an AI writer make you a movie of the Wheel of Time.
Yeah, sounds about right. I mean, just once again, like, and I've said this multiple times. It's like, imagine if Lord of the Rings didn't include Bree, or it didn't include the flight to the fort, or it didn't include the Weathertop scenario, or Khazad-dûm. That's basically if that was the case with Peter Jackson's films, that I would say that would be equivalent to what this season 1 is to Eye of the World in particular, because all the key moments, the moments that I wanted to see on screen, were not there at all. No, it's a totally different story. And so whenever people defend the Wheel of Time as another turning of the wheel, I'm just like, this, like, I have to go there. I have to say, if you liked Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, then you should be dumbfounded by the decisions made here. So, and I know we're already we're well past 2 hours already. So,
I probably should get going here.
Definitely should.
It's been a fun conversation. I appreciate you having me on. But yeah, I should probably head out.
I appreciate you being on. I'm surprised. I like I said, like, originally I was going to say, I was going to be nice and say, instead of saying lucky you get Pips, I was going to say Pips is seldom wrong and everything. But hey, but I know with, we've talked regularly, and I know like, you're going through major things, right? You're doing a lot of stuff right now, and the time is just not there, especially for streaming and life and everything. So, dude, I appreciate you doing this. I mean, hopefully, I mean, next weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend. I know you're prepping for something big, so I wanted to start the Shadow Rising. So I mean, you're like I said, you're always welcome if you can make it to the Shadow Rising. But like you said, you're probably gonna be in other parts of the world and other time streams. So
next Sunday, I am probably going to be like in an airport or something like that. If I'm available, maybe, but I probably wouldn't count on me on a regular guest, which sucks. Hey, I've been with you, I think, every episode for your trek through the Wheel of Time so far. It's been a lot of fun.
I loved how you said Trek. I loved how you said Trek for the Wheel of Time. So
hey,
because there is a lot of Trek in those Wheel of Time intros. So,
yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I appreciate it. And like I said, if you can make it, you're always welcome. The link will be in the same thing. So anytime you want to pop in, you can pop in, pop out, and and your name will still be in the credits. Your name will still be in the credits. And
well, you don't need to put me in the credits if I'm not going to be there. But
no, you're an executive producer. You're stuck there. You're one of the 3 executive producers I have. So you're locked into that role.
I'll talk to you about my share of the super chat credits. I might go on strike if I don't get my fair share.
But so I'm thinking I'm probably gonna ask Alex. Alex is probably gonna fill your shoes for most of it. So
well, Alex has been on there. He's been great. I like having these conversations with people, and I like having the chat there and talking with them and talking with you guys through these things. But to be honest, I enjoy when other people are the ones that are on the show and I'm just hanging out in the chat. You guys just keep on inviting me on because you're gluttons for punishment, I guess. So
yeah, well, I mean, we can't all be as awesome as you, Pips.
That is true. You guys should wear more sunglasses. It increases your coolness by at least 3 factors.
Yeah, I haven't. Usually, I only wear them when I'm a guest on someone else's show. But if you're wearing them, I will probably. Well, you always wear them anyway, so I will usually not because I need to be the face of humanity. So I can be you can look in my eyes and hey, there's a person there, and then there's Pips. He's the mysterious stranger. Who knows what he's capable of. So, but yeah, man. Is there anything that you want to promote before we end this? Anything else?
Just like I said, hopefully tomorrow I'll drop a video. It's going to be, it is going to be the unemotional, just the facts, kind of breakdown of the season 2 trailer. I'm not rage baiting. I'm just, hey, here are the individual scenes. Here's what's happening in them. There's a few of them that I think warrant a much longer conversation about the implications of that scene, or something egregious that happens in it, something like that. But a lot of it is just like I slowed down and I color boosted and I boosted the lighting on a lot of the video segments so that you can see what's in them. There's a lot of shit these days is just so dark you can't see any details. And it's just kind of breaking it down and talking through, hey, what is happening in this scene and what does that maybe mean for the show. So that'll be hopefully tomorrow. I'll drop that on the channel. And then Saturday afternoon, 8 p.m. Eastern, is going to be probably my last stream, at least for the short term with the White Cloaks. And we'll talk through the trailer with some friends and go through some stuff. But yeah, it'll just be a good time, a chill stream and just talking Wheel of Time with people. You guys in the chat, thanks for showing up for this. Hopefully I see you guys for the stream on Saturday. Always good to have you guys to bounce questions and answers off of and to ignore Trip when she's being annoying. I say foo-foo. All right. All
all right, but man. Once again, thanks for agreeing to this. Thanks for coming by, and sorry we went 45 minutes later. I know you got it's like it's quarter to midnight by you, so but yeah, so I actually I've been saying this, but I plan to do some Wheel of Time book reviews. So I have 3 books I've read, so I have to do book reviews for those, and I'm definitely going to do a Wheel of Prime series review. I'm going to mention the series in the Eye of the World review and why I would not recommend it alongside the book. And then I'm probably going to do right before the season 2 comes out. I'm going to do a season 1 video too. And then I don't know if I'm going to do. I don't think I'm going to do episode reviews myself. I might, but I'm probably going to be glued to whatever Steve or Salty are doing. So, yeah. Other than I don't know what other shows to get into. You watching anything currently right now? That's good.
I'm watching The Wire.
How far are you? Did you say season 3?
I'm in season 3. Yeah.
All right, so you're probably farther than me.
I'm towards the end of season 3 actually.
Oh, you're way farther than me. I'm only on episode 1. So.
And I am just about to start the new Justified series.
I'm only 5 episodes into season 1. I haven't watched them since.
Of the original Justified.
Of the original, yeah.
Okay.
I liked what I saw. I know
that when you first started watching it, you were kind of like, oh, I don't know if it's as good as you guys say. It's just like The Wire. You got to get season 2, season 3, and then you're just gonna be like, dude, this show is great.
Well, I watched 5 episops. I liked what I saw from season 1.
Walter Goggins steals the show. He's fantastic.
He's only been in the first episode. I barely saw him. So I'm guessing, like you said, he does more later in the show.
Yeah, he's just a great actor doing it. Like the role was made for him. They're like it's really great acting. And then Timothy Oliphant does admirable work as well. I mean, the acting in general is all really good. But it's a great show. It's a fun show. And so I'm going to watch the new one as well.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Dempsey, I have the Dragons of Twilight or of Autumn Twilight. I have the first 3 books of Dragonlance, which I think is that Dragons of Autumn Twilight. I think is one of those first 3 books. I have those on my Audible account. I'm gonna read. I'm gonna go through all 3 of them while I'm traveling. So,
all right.
Maybe I'll even do a review of Dragonlance stuff. But thanks for the recommendation.
Pips, I don't know if you will take a recommendation from me. I know it's been years since you've watched It's been years since you watched any anime, but I got Nathan to watch Legend of the Galactic Heroes, the original Legend of the Galactic Heroes from the 90s. It's probably the most epic anime I've ever seen, and it's very interesting. And it's a space opera. It's a lot of politics. It's a lot of intrigue. There's a lot of battles, space battles, and it's not very. It feels like a war. It's more like a war epic in the far future, and it's basically autocrats versus autocracy, empire versus democracy, and the issues with both sides. And it's almost like a period piece. The autocracy is based off of Prussia, based off of 19th century Prussia. And there's 2 protagonists, and let's just say they drive the story is still like a historical chronicle, and these 2 characters drive the events of the story. And it's a long story. It's based off of 10 books from Japan, and I watched the first season of it not too long ago alongside The Wire, and I got nothing but tears and feels nobody's safe. And there's if you like some good amount of graphic violence, axe in the face, it's there, and it's fun. There's quite a bit of there's a little bit of Star Wars, but it's not space fantasy.
All right. So, well, maybe you can send me in the Discord, but So
I sent Nathan sent me a thumb drive. I sent him 5 episodes on Google Drive. He watched. He's like, dude, send me the entire series. So I sent them all 110 episodes of the OVA. So, which is, original video animation. So, and so I gave you a recommendation. Now, whether or not you're interested, that's on you. But hey,
like I said, send me it in Discord so I don't forget the name of it and stuff like that. And maybe I'll use my time off and watch it.
Mr. Richards, I presume. What's up, Alex? $10. Thank you. Just picked up some Giordano's. Why the hell are you picking up that cardboard? Chicago style deep dish, absolutely outstanding, dude. You want go to freaking Lou Malnati's if you want to get some good Chicago style deep dish.
How do you spell what you just said? Is that a word?
What Lou Malnati's?
Oh, Lou. Okay, all right.
Yeah, Lou as in Lou Malnati.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, the Malnati. Yeah, the Malnati's the Italian last name, and it's the best. It's you take. It's not sauce. It's not a saucy. It's not the sauce. It's like stewed tomatoes, and it's the most delicious stewed tomatoes on top of the pie. Or how do you put it? The casserole.
You're not selling it. This is
dude, like butter. The butter. You have the butter crust. You have the butter crust. You have the mozzarella.
Lady B's comment.
You have the delicious stewed tomatoes on top with the sausage. It is delicious. Go
pull. You know what? I'm just gonna read it for you because you're not gonna pull it up. Chicago pizza is like the Wheel of Prime. There's a crust, cheese, and tomato sauce, but it's not pizza.
It tastes very much like pizza. It's delicious, and you're just wrong, Pips. You're just wrong.
Sounds you're a Shadow fan.
We have some of the best. We have some of the best food here in the city, and that's just that's all there is to it.
All right.
Like
and with
pizza,
that,
you go to freaking Domino's. We go to a good
because,
Italian place, and we get pizza right down the corner. That's how awesome the food is in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So
I got a brick fire pizza oven here. And then there's an authentic Italian style brick pizza oven about a quarter mile walk from my house too. So we got them here too. I've been there. I've been to those places. They're okay. They're good. Not as good, but they're good. The chat is encouraging us that I think someone sees here. Pips is trying to go to sleep. Brian, what are you doing? Chicago pizza is terrible. I'm just reading chats from the comment here. Trip says, blink twice if Brian is keeping you captive. I'm blinking under the sunglasses, Trip.
All right, but yes, thanks, Alex, for the $10. It's not overrated. Come on. All right, man. All right, but yeah, once again, thanks, Pips, for doing this. Sorry to keep you. Where the hell is it? Oh, hide current comment. There you go. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for doing this, and everybody, have a good night, and definitely tune into the White Cloaks on. You said Saturday.
Yep.
All right, everybody, doing the White Cloaks on Saturday, and stay Chillporeal.
Walk in the light.